Fiorentina. Jackson Cole is our man reporting from the Vitality Stadium. Good afternoon to you, Jackson. Okay, we'll just bring away there. We'll go instead to another game of the South Coast at the American Express Community Stadium. It's Brighton versus Luton Town. Last season's surprise package. Brighton are looking to embark on their debut European campaign this season after that superb campaign which saw them finish 6th. And they face Luton Town, who are making their debut campaign in the Premier League and determined not to just make up the numbers. Richard Bond, our senior reporter, is there covering all the action. Is it a bright sunny day down by the seaside?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed one here today, but it's very much not mixed with the crowd. They're all excited as everybody is ready and waiting to see Luton Town in the Premier League for the first time in the 30-odd years of the Premier League. Luton did have a spells in the English top divisions previous to that, but it's been a long journey coming back for them after falling out of the Football League and making it back in just 10 years. It's an incredible story, really, as such, and they're coming to play a Brighton side who were just so impressive last year under Roberto De Zerbi, really overachieving much past what a lot of people expected to get into European places and qualify for the UEFA Cup.
How are Brighton going to fare this season? They've lost arguably their two most influential central midfielders. Well, certainly one of them in McAllister. It looks like Casido's on his way out now. But they seem to just keep churning out new. Where's the next player coming from them?
It seems like they always seem to have a plan waiting. You know, they run such a well-run club. They brought in Mahoud Dahoud this season from Borussia Dortmund. Some of our fans may know about him from listening to some of the games last year. He's a good playmaking talent. He'll come in and look to get them going in that midfield area. James Milner's a very clever signing, bit of experience there from Liverpool, played lots of Premier League games. Also, they've lost Robert Sanchez. He's gone to Chelsea, and there's a new keeper that's come in, a Belgian keeper, Bart van Bruggen. He's going to be interesting to see whether he starts today or whether they're going to go with tried and trusted Jason Steele from last year. And whilst we've got a player who's really talented from Watford, João Pedro, viewers might remember he was playing for Watford in the Premier League 2 seasons ago, done well. He's still very young. A lot of clubs are after him in the summer. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these players integrate into the team. I think both sides are going to have a lot of new players playing today, so it could be a really good game, this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it indeed. We'll be back covering with team news as we get it with Richard down at the Amex Stadium. Let's head to an interesting encounter at Bramall Lane, where another of the Premier League new boys, Sheffield United, take on Crystal Palace. The Blades won an impressive 28 league games last season on their way to automatic promotion. Meanwhile, life begins after Zaha for the Eagles, where Roy Hodgson is now permanently in charge, having accumulated 18 points from his 10 games in charge at the end of last season, easily avoiding being dragged into a relegation dogfight, bringing us, just up to date with what's going on at Sheffield United is Ed Dowling. Good afternoon, Ed. How are you doing?
Yeah, really well, thanks, Dean. Good afternoon, everyone listening. Great to be back for another season in the Premier League. But I have to say, I don't think this is the start that Sheffield United or Crystal Palace would have imagined when they knew they were going to be in the league last year. Obviously, for Sheffield United, very recently losing Iliman Ndiaye to Marseille, and then Sander Berge very recently, I believe 3 days ago, to Burnley, another one of their competitors in the league. I don't think this is the lineup that Paul Heckingbottom had in mind, not to mention the really long list of injuries plaguing the home side today. And as for Crystal Palace, they've kept on Roy Hodgson for another season, the elder statesman, going into, I believe, his 30th year of Premier League management. And again, not quite the start he would have imagined. Wilfried Zaha recently has been revealed at Galatasaray. Their talisman is gone. Echoing, I guess, Harry Kane leaving Tottenham today. It's be interesting to see how Palace can cope without their star man. And of course, with recent rumours flying around the club with Michael Olise, who's unavailable today due to an injury, looks like he might be off to Chelsea. So that would really leave Palace short ahead of the start of the season. So look, in terms of the game, Dean, I think it's going to be a really interesting might be a bit cagey, it might be a bit nervy. I think either side really does not want to lose this one. But for me, if I had to give a prediction at this stage, even before seeing the teams, Sheffield United have to get their home form right if they're going to stay in this division. So I'm going to predict an edgy encounter, and I'm going to say maybe a 1-0 to the home side, hopefully, for them. But should be an interesting watch, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. I think obviously Sheffield United will carry on the momentum. I think winning breeds winning. And such uncertainty, as you said, around this Crystal Palace squads just in general. And you don't see any optimism. Speaking to Crystal Palace fans in the summer break, they're all sort of a quandary as to where do we go from here? You know, they've got rid of Roy Hodgson in the first place for a reason. They've got him back. It's like, yeah, he saved us last season, but where do we go from here?
It's true, and I think they've got a lot of for him, the Palace fans, Roy Hodgson, and rightly so. But it does indicate a lack of direction, I'd say, because he's not going to be around forever. I'd be very surprised if he was managing Crystal Palace, or indeed anyone, beyond this season. So they've got to wonder about the long-term vision and where they really want the club to go. Again, it's going to be another season of survival for Crystal Palace. So we'll see what happens. But we know Roy Hodgson's capable of delivering a strong league campaign for Palace, and I bet, and I hope they would feel the same about this. But you'd have to wonder how they're going to improve from last season. But maybe it means more stability for the South London side. Who knows? But I know they'll be watching with eager eyes here today, Dean.
Absolutely. Well, Ed will join you very, very later. Just remember, you are listening to Football Live.
Coming up tomorrow on Football Live with Barry Swain. Join us live and exclusive from 2:30 until 6:30, including Chelsea, Liverpool, Premier League action. Football Live will be around the ground chasing the goals.
Well, chasing the goals indeed, and there has been a goal in the Premier League game.
Football Live on Brila FM.
Calling all high flyers who fancies a free flight on us. Naira Vegas are making it rain with 1 million, yes, 1 million free flights on Aviator. Claim unlimited flights with no minimum stake. The sky's the limit. Every day it will randomly rain free flights through the chat feature. Simply place your bets on Aviator and watch it rain free flights in the chat. Make sure you board the plane. You wouldn't want to miss out on a maximum multiplier of times 250,000. Full terms and conditions apply. Must click claim in the chat to be rewarded. Free flights for Aviator only. Must be 18 plus. Please play responsibly.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, BrilaSports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Around the ground, chasing the goals.
A goal that is going to blow open the title race in the Bundesliga.
Well, this wasn't supposed to happen.
It's been an unbelievable day here on Football Live.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. with Dean Kilford.
Well, Football Live is all about the goals, and there has been a goal in the Premier League game at the Emirates Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Without further ado, let's head straight over to Matt Smith to tell us all about it.
Well, it's a good goal by Eddie Nketiah. He's the scorer, but the creator of it, Gabriel Martinelli, is an absolute magician, by the way. An absolute magician. He's on the left wing and he's fending off 3 or 4 Nottingham Forest defenders. He's then managed to roulette himself out of a little bit of trouble, past 2 Forest defenders. It falls to Nketiah. Nketiah takes a touch out of feet and he strikes it as hard as he can. It's a slight deflection off Joe Worrell, but that's enough to send it past Matt Turner. It has been coming for Arsenal. They haven't really tested the back 5 of Forest. Forest have held on. Arsenal have been in complete control, not really having to test Matt Turner before that goal. A little bit of mistakes here and there, offside, little lazy mistakes from Arsenal players, but they won't be complaining. It's 29 minutes played. It's Arsenal 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
So Arsenal a goal to good, and what a wonderful piece of skill that was from Martinelli, pirouetting. That takes some doing, and he bamboozled about 3 Forest players at the back there. So Arsenal responding to Manchester City's victory yesterday. Already a goal up inside half an hour at the Emirates Stadium. There was a lunchtime kickoff happening in the Championship. That game was Coventry versus Middlesbrough. And let's get the halftime reports on that game from Ryan Benjamin. Good game, Ryan.
Yeah, half-time here. Matthew Gooden's 11th minute goal separating the 2 sides. Middlesbrough playing some nice football, tidy football, but not really testing Coventry that much. It's really been Coventry who've had not only the goal, but they've had a few good half chances as well. Both of these sides met last season in the playoff semi-finals. Coventry, of course, lost out to Luton Town in the final, so it's a case of what could have been for them. Seeing that Luton are in the Premier League at the moment playing Brighton, they'll be ruining their luck a little bit. But yeah, it's been a good game. Michael Carrick's been booked on the sidelines, which is a bit unlike him losing his cool. But his team are very much a representation of him, getting it down and playing some nice little passes, keeping possession well. Like I say, it's Coventry at home who really are causing more problems, I'd say. I think they're good value to be 1-0 up here at half-time.
Well, we'll come back to Richard as soon as we get any play underway in the second half of that game, which will be kicking off very, very shortly. Back to the Women's World Cup now. We're into the 8th minute of added time in that game. Still England leading by 2-1. Alicia Russo's 63rd minute goal. The difference between the 2 teams there. I'll bring you full time as soon as the whistle is blown. Meanwhile, let's head over to another game in the Premier League, and let's head over to a team hoping for a much better season this season. Sean Dyche begins his first full season in charge of Everton as they want to enjoy a campaign away from the perils of the relegation zone, but they take on a Fulham team who managed to hold on to manager Marco Silva as well as senior players Willian Alexandra Mitrovic, who were heavily targeted by Saudi Arabian clubs. But meanwhile, there has been another goal at the Emirates Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And we'll head straight to Matt Smith as soon as we can. Meanwhile, let's catch up with Kane Wears, who is in place to bring us all the latest news from Goodison Park. Good afternoon, Kane. Hello, Kane. Are you there? Can you hear me? We will join Kane very, very shortly there as we will now go straight over to Matt Smith, who is seeing that second goal at the Emirates Stadium. But which way has it gone?
It is a goal for Arsenal and they extend their lead. They are 2-0 up after 32 minutes. And we spoke about the assist. We spoke about the build-up to the first goal. But my goodness me, this is all about Bukayo Saka. Nottingham Forest lose the ball quite deep in their own, in their sort of defending third. And Bukayo Saka manages to get the ball off of a hassling Thomas Partey, and he's just outside that Nottingham Forest box on the right wing, and he whips it right around past Matt Turner, and it's a fantastic goal. It's a great goal to start their season, and it is Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0 after 33 minutes.
And what a strike that was from Saka. Matt, we wondered where the goals were going to come potentially from Arsenal this season. No recognised striker. I mean, Gabriel Jesus, of course, is that man who brought in Kai Havertz. Do you think Saka is? I mean, he had such an impressive season last season. Can he consistently deliver? Do you think?
I think so. I think he's still quite young. There's still a bit of a pressure on his shoulders. He's week in, week out at Arsenal now, and he's a regular for England as well. People are arguing the fact that he could be one of the best wingers in the world, and I think he probably put him in that category. He's probably in the top 5, I would say. Martinelli's maybe a little bit behind him there, but Bukayo Saka, the creativity that he brings, the flair that he brings, I think that's where Arsenal will get a lot of creativity and a lot of their goals. I think Havertz will drop in as almost like a false 9, like we predicted he would. And I think Martinelli and Saka will get a lot of the goals, a lot of the assists, and that's where the chances will be created, I believe.
Well, indeed, we'll see how Saka plays out, and we'll see how Arsenal get on. 2 goals to the good already, and still just under 10 minutes to go to half-time in that game. We'll be back with Matt, I'm sure, very, very shortly. In the meantime, let's head over to the game of the South Coast, where Jackson Cole is covering Bournemouth's game in new life under manager Andoni Iraola. They take on West Ham, who are freshly buoyed and confident, surely, going to this season following their Europa Conference League win, but of course without their talisman Declan Rice. Jackson Cole, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dean. Yeah, you spoke about how West Ham are coming into this season on the high of winning the Europa Conference League, but over the summer you get the sense that David Moyes is under pressure, even though not one game has been played so far this season. As you mentioned, they did lose Declan Rice, their talisman, in the summer. They've got a lot of money for him, but they've not really spent a lot of it back. The only senior signing that has come through the door at the London Stadium is Edson Alvarez from Ajax, although it does look like both Harry Maguire and James Ward-Prowse will be signing for the Hammers in the coming days. So it's a bit of an odd feeling at West Ham at the moment. They won their first trophy since 1980, yet David Moyes is probably one of the favourites to be the first managerial sacking in the Premier League for this season.
He is actually the favourite to be shown the door this season, which is quite staggering. Well, you'd think winning a trophy would bring in confidence. I know they've lost Rice, of course, we mentioned earlier. Do you get that sense of doom and gloom from the West Ham fans?
I think there's just a lot of uncertainty because they've not spent a lot of the Declan Rice money back yet. But I think once the signings of Harry Maguire and James Ward-Prowse come through, because they appear to be inevitable, they're even in for Scott McTominay as well. I think if they can get him as well, things will be a lot more positive among West Ham and of course if they can put in a good performance today, because Bournemouth they've shown a real statement of intent in the summer. I thought Gary O'Neill was quite unfortunate not to keep his job at Bournemouth. He took over a side which, as Scott Parker put, was under-equipped for the Premier League season and made them survive in relative comfort in the end. But they've got this new man, Iraola, who has been coached by Marcelo Bielsa before. So if he can bring that kind of football to the Vitality Stadium, then that could be a very exciting time for the Cherries. They've made quite a few signings this summer. Justin Kluivert from Ajax, Hamed Traore from Sassuolo, and then just this week they announced 2 signings: Max Aarons, who could make his debut today, and Alex Scott from Bristol City. Unfortunately, we won't see him for a couple of months. He's still nursing a knee injury, but there's a lot of excitement about what Scott can do in his career. So be interested. This match will be a very, very intriguing prospect, that's for sure.
It's a tough one to call either way. Bournemouth, yeah, it's an interesting one. They had such a great season under Gary O'Neill, and then to sack him at the end of the season and obviously come in with Iraola this season, but he plays exciting, entertaining football. We just don't know what to expect.
No, we really don't, but that's why we love the Premier League, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
But, it might take a few weeks maybe for Bournemouth to play the football that Iraola wants them to play. I think their pre-season was a bit mixed. Yeah, 2 wins and 2 defeats. They got their wins against Lorient and Southampton, but they're beaten quite convincingly by Atalanta and Maccabi Tel Aviv. So it is a bit of a lucky dip when guessing how Bournemouth are going to start the season. But I expect both sides to stay above the bottom three this season.
Well, it remains to be seen. We'll catch up very, very shortly. Jackson, we'll get all the team news as and when it comes through there from Bournemouth against West Ham United. And there is the game that's kicked off underway, the second half underway, 5 minutes or so gone between Coventry and Middlesbrough. Let's just get a quick update to see how that's faring. How are we doing there? Ryan, you still there?
Yeah, Middlesbrough just had a great chance. Morgan Rogers, their signing from Manchester City in the summer, who's hoping to replace the goals from Chupa Akpom, has just mazied his way through, mazy little dribble through Coventry's defence. And he's kind of tried to chip the ball, kind of dig it out of his feet, and he's just put it wide and is looking to the heavens with his hands in his face. A really good opportunity for Middlesbrough, probably their best chance of the game. Games between these two tend to be quite low scoring, so I don't think Middlesbrough would be panicking too much being 1-0 down, but chances like the one we've just seen, they really need to take them. Both teams lost on the first game of the season, so really a win is quite important even this early on, I feel. The TBS Arena, it's Coventry 1, Middlesbrough 0.
So Coventry 1, Middlesbrough 0 as things stand in the Premier League. It's Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest, and we'll head to Matt very, very shortly. But just before then, let's head over to the game featuring Everton and Fulham. Sean Dyche starts his first full season in charge. Kane Weirs is our man at Goodison Park. Kane, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dean.
You well?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Hopefully a good game today between two teams who had contrasting seasons last season. Both Everton just staying up in the Premier League and Fulham trying to go for a European place, just missing out and finishing 10th. You have a look at today. Everton have lost just one of their last 11 opening games of the season, while Fulham have actually won their last 3 games against Everton. So hopefully today, with a few added additions, both Everton signing Chermiti for £12.5 million from Shakhtar Donetsk, and also Dan Juma on loan, hoping to make their debuts today. And then you have a look at Fulham. They've got Nigerian international Calvin Bassey, who they signed for around £22 to £25 million from Ajax, and also former Wolves striker Raul Jimenez, who's also looking to make his debut today. So hopefully a good game between two sides who would like to get their season up and running and get some points on the table doors.
Absolutely. Do you see Fulham being able to sustain the campaign that they had last season, or do you think it's one of those where the first season up you kind of hit the heights and then you fall away, second season syndrome?
Yeah, I think it's been a tough pre-season for Marco Silva, not just on the fact of that no one knew what his future was going to be, and obviously while being away in the Premier League Summer Series in America, lots of speculation. Again, we still don't know what's happening with the talisman Alexander Mitrovic, who provided most of the goals last year and really did help them get to that 10th place finish. Yes, bringing in Raul Jimenez in may add to that, but Alexander Mitrovic is a massive miss if he isn't in that squad today, as Marco Silva's hinted in previous interviews, and I think that may just hinder their season a little bit in comparison to last.
Absolutely, and surely things will be better for Everton. I mean, they've been flirting with relegation for 3 or 4 years now. Sean Dyche, what's the feeling amongst the Evertonians?
Yeah, I think, just as you said, I don't think Everton expected this for a second season in a row. And going into last season, they were very optimistic and thinking they'll push on. I think the atmosphere is very different now, with Sean Dyche getting his full first season in charge. He started to make changes. Obviously, the likes of Conor Cody, he let go. Star players such as James Tarkowski, who he knows his time from Burnley, will really had an impact in terms of being that bit more defensively organised. But as you say, Everton really need to get out of this rut over the last couple of years, and Sean Dyche should be, with his past experience, the person to be able to make them that little bit more solid, and hopefully allow them to move up the league. But time will tell.
Absolutely. He did such a fantastic job, of course, with Burnley for all those years. So that sort of, I suppose, a different style of football really for Evertonians, that kind of hardened, rugged 4-4-2, looking for the wing play, but should breed results. Or hopefully, if you're a toffee anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think Everton fans have I think understood where they're at now in watching a lot of the pre-season. I think you see that Sean Dyche really has made a focus on being that defensively organised and really being a little bit more solid and not leaking as many goals, although Everton only lost one of the last 5 games of the previous season. So I think the players are buying in, especially in pre-season, about what he's wanting, and he's starting to add some pace in wide areas with the likes of Dan Juma, adding in that 19-year-old Chermiti from Shakhtar Donetsk to really add that bit of pace and power up front with the doubtfulness of Calvert-Lewin, who's picked up a few injuries last season.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, remains to be seen. Team News will be hitting in just around about 15 minutes' time or so, and we'll rejoin Kane as soon as we get it. Meanwhile, there is a game happening in the Premier League right now, and it's very much delayed, but it's been full of excitement, and Matt Smith is here to update us with what's happened since Arsenal's second goal.
Yeah, well, since the second goal, Arsenal have remained in control. Forest have they've thrown a few more bodies forward. You know, Orel Mangala seems to be in a more advanced position now. You know, it's at the 45-minute mark, but Forest, they're going to have to change something. It's not really working when they're throwing those bodies forward. Arsenal are finding those gaps. You know, through Kai Havertz and Odegaard, they're picking the ball up deep in Forest's half, and they're creating chances. Declan Rice has just had a shot saved from about 35 yards out. It's a great strike, but Matt Turner held it well. And it's 45 minutes played. It's still Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0, but Arsenal are in full control.
So apart from that early chance for Johnson, has there been any signs that Forest are going to trouble this Arsenal back line?
I'll be brutally honest with you, Dean. Absolutely not. Arsenal, they are, like I say, 85, 90% possession. Forest can't even get the ball off them to have a chance. It's if you're a Forest fan watching it, goodness me, it's not very nice. The tempo has dropped because Forest they're shattered in a way. They've been chasing the ball for so long. Arsenal look very, very good. I think I said the last update, it was just that final pass. They don't need that final pass anymore. You know, they're 2-0 up, but if you're a Forest fan, even a Forest player, you're thinking, goodness me, can this stop now? This is almost like a little training game, the under-14s versus the under-21s.
Well, it does look complete dominance. Arsenal with all the ball and all the chances. Will Forest regroup at half-time? We'll find out. Thank you, Matt. We'll join you for the half-time report. We're just into added time there. 3 minutes to be added on the end of the first half. Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0. Now, Football Live, we cover the big games. And there is a big game happening down in the Championship between two teams that formerly were of the Premier League, Coventry and Middlesbrough. I believe there's been a big chance in the game there. Ryan, has it gone for the home team?
Oh, massive chance for Borough. Sam Silvera coming in today after he played well in the EFL Cup in the week. It's his first start. It was cut back to him 6 yards out, goal gaping, maybe slightly behind him if you want to give him a little bit of an excuse, but he just smashes it over, gets underneath it from 6 yards, and it goes flying into the stands. Massive let off for Coventry, who are still 1-0 up. Middlesbrough coming back into the game. That was one of a couple of decent chances they've created. I mean, that was a massive chance. The other one they smashed into the side netting from inside the box. Should have done better with that as well. But currently it's 1-0 to Coventry. These games tend to be quite low scoring, but Middlesbrough creating some really good chances, and Sam Silvera had the best one of the lot there. Should have scored. Somehow it's still Coventry 1, Middlesbrough 0 after 56 minutes.
Thanks for that, Ryan. Middlesbrough knocking on the door. Can they find a way in? Well, Football Live, we cover the big games. We cover the big leagues, including the Saudi League, which is the newest, hottest property, if you can call it that, in the football world. And we have our expert, John Kane, who is on hand to bring us up to date with all the comings and goings of the Saudi Pro League. Let's head over to John now. Good afternoon, John.
The Saudi Pro League with John Kane on Football Live.
Yes, thank you very much, Dean, and welcome back, everyone. We just thought we'd just give a few information on the Saudi League as becoming really, as Dean said, one of the hottest property in world of football. Obviously, we know there's some of the players that have gone to Saudi Arabia lately, and maybe more to go, because closing date for the transfer closing date is about 2 or 3 weeks, I think, Dean, after the Premier League shuts.
Indeed,
So
22nd of September, I believe it is. So yeah, good few weeks after.
That's right. So they've still got chances of getting few players. But let's just give you just brief on who's and what's and who's the best and things like that. No, the Al Hilal is probably top of the league when it comes to the history of Saudi football. They are winners 18 times and the runners are 15 times. The Al Hilal is from Riyadh, which is the capital city. The second most best team is actually shared between Al Ittihad, which is from Jeddah, and Al Nasr, who is also from Riyadh. Both won the league 9 times. Followed by Al Shabab, who is also from Riyadh, who has 6 titles. Ahli Jeddah, who they won 3-1 yesterday. We've seen the number of players they had. They are one of the top 5 clubs in Saudi Arabia. They won it 3 times, but bearing in mind that Ahli Jeddah, they were in league below them last season. They got relegated the season before. They came back straight away as expected. They're one of the top 5 clubs. It was a big shock when they've gotten relegated 2 seasons ago, but it wasn't a shock when they got promoted again. And now when you look at the players, they've got players like Riyad Mahrez, Mendy, Firmino, who scored a hat-trick yesterday. I don't think they're going to be relegated again. Just out of interest as well, the top goal scorer in the history of the Saudi League is Majid Abdallah. Anyone who's interested in the international world of football, he'll probably recognise Majid Abdallah. He scored 189 goals in that league. He's also top goal scorer for Saudi Arabia. He played all his career for Al Nasr. So Cristiano Ronaldo, he got a long way to go to beat that record, but especially with the age that Ronaldo's in, so I don't think he's going to be beaten. But Majid Abdallah is very well known in Saudi Arabia. I think he is the icon of Saudi Arabian football throughout the 80s and early 90s, and we'll go back later on, I think, Dean, and for more information as the show goes along. But I think that's a good start, I think, from me.
Absolutely, getting us prepared and geared up for the Saudi League. We've just got time before we head back to the studio and Femi and Brilla FM to head to the Emirates Stadium, where I believe the half-time whistle has blown, but it hasn't ended on a good note for the home team.
No, it hasn't ended on a good note at all. Jurian Timbers just lunged into a challenge. He's got booked for the challenge, but he was on the floor for a good 3-4 minutes, and a bit of concern there for Arteta. I think there's going to be a change at half-time, but he's holding his shin, so I don't know whether it's some sort of a muscle injury with maybe his calf. I'm not sure, but it's not great news. And new signing getting injured on the first game of the league, but it's half-time. Arsenal have been dominant for the full 45. All their hard work to break down the Nottingham Forest defence almost came undone. But 2 goals in 6 minutes, 26 minutes, it was Eddie Nketiah with a Joe Worrell deflection that sent it past Matt Turner. And 32 minutes, so 6 minutes later, Bukayo Saka with a great strike past Matt Turner. That's going to be setting the standard in terms of qualities of goal. 88 possession to Arsenal, 12 to Nottingham Forest. It's all Arsenal. It's half-time here at the Emirates. Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Matt. We'll join up for you for a real catch-up on that game very, very shortly. But it's time to head back to Femi in the Brilla FM studio. We'll join again very, very shortly.
You are listening to Football Live, powered by NairaBet, with Dean Kilford.
That's right. You are listening to Football Live, the world's most listened to football show. And what an afternoon we've got in store for you. The kickoff of the Premier League. 4 big 3 o'clock kickoffs to come. Of course, we've got the half-time report. It's currently Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0. But in the Championship, there's a big game happening between Coventry and Middlesbrough. Ryan Benjamin is there to bring us up to date with the latest there. Coventry were leading by a goal to nil. Is that still the case, Ryan?
Still the case, yeah. Matthew Gooden's 11th minute goal, still separating these two sides. After about 67 minutes, there's been a flurry of substitutes, not so much a flurry of chances or anything though. Haji Wright has came on. He's Coventry City's second all-time highest paid transfer. Only Craig Bellamy cost more in a Coventry shirt, if you remember that name from back in the day. And hopefully he can make a bit of a change here, because it's been a bit scrappy from Coventry. Ellis Sims has gone off, and they're going to try and hit Hadji Wright as often as they can. Middlesbrough playing some nice football, but still not really creating lots of chances. Just that opportunity from Silvera that we mentioned before when he blazed over. But yeah, Mark Robins looking to turn the tide a little bit here. 68 minutes gone, 1-0 to Coventry.
So Coventry still a goal to good, looking for their first points of the season. Meanwhile, at the Emirates Stadium, it's half-time in a game between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. So far, so good for the Gunners. Nketiah and Saka with the goals. But that late blow with Timber going off injured just before half-time has just got the Arsenal crowd talking maybe not quite so confidently as they have their half-time beverages and pies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a little bit of cause for concern. I think it's... I mean, he's lunged into the challenge and he's come off worse off, so that's never good. Normally, if you're going for a challenge, you're up straight away. But the fact that he was down and he was holding his leg, got treatment for a few minutes. The referee was just waiting to book him for the challenge that Timber did on a Nottingham Forest player. It is concerning, but it's for the whole 45 minutes, Arsenal have been in control, and that's just sort of the bittersweet sort of ending to that, and they've did so much work for the Nottingham Forest defence, breaking the defence down, and it almost came undone. But they've got their 2 goals in 6 minutes, and two great goals. They'll be happy with that.
Absolutely, and I mean, of course, Nottingham Forest, they survived last season, but if you're Arsenal, I mean, you couldn't really have handpicked a better opponent for your first game of the season, could you?
No, but probably not. I think even with the fact that you've got those teams coming up, Burnley and Sheffield United coming up, those sort of teams, I think that they almost have a little bit of a fight in them when they first come up to the Premier League. They go, right, we're going to give it our all, whereas Forest have just scraped survival. So it's probably the easiest fixture they could have picked, and it's showing. It really is showing Arsenal's class that they're in total control, and Forest are in deep trouble.
Well, we'll bring you action in the second half as soon as we get it. Thank you very much, Matt. But meanwhile, in the Championship, there's been a goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Well, last we heard, Coventry were looking to change the tide as they were holding on to their goal lead against Middlesbrough. Since then, there's been a goal. Ryan, which way's it gone?
Oh, they've definitely done that. We mentioned him before. It's the record signing in the EFL. Hadji Wright, the American, has scored a left-footed strike here from inside the box. It was a corner that was whipped in by Casey Palmer. Middlesbrough didn't deal with it at all. It was a bit of a mess, really. They could have cleared it, but they just knocked it back into the path of Wright, who just swung his left foot at it. It bounced once, goes through 2 defenders, goalkeeper no chance, and Mark Robbins' substitution has definitely made the difference here. Coventry 2-0 up, and they've got some daylight now between themselves and Middlesbrough. Brilliant timing for a goal. 70 minutes gone, 2-0 to Coventry.
So Coventry 2 goals to the goodness, their American international, who has got that second goal and surely all 3 points for the first 3 points of the season for Coventry. So let's just run through the games covering here on Football Live this afternoon. Of course, the lunchtime kickoff, it's Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0. In the Championship, it's currently Coventry 2, Middlesbrough 0, as you just heard. Then the 3 o'clock kickoffs from the Premier League, it's Bournemouth versus West Ham United, Brighton Hove Albion versus Luton Town, Everton take on Fulham, and Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace. And from the Eredivisie, we have PSV Eindhoven versus Utrecht, as PSV look to go one better and hopefully, from their point of view, mount a real chance of winning the title. In fact, why don't we head over to our reporter that is covering that game in the Eredivisie? That is our new reporter, Jacob Kollick, who is here. It's PSV Eindhoven versus Utrecht. It's early days. We're still about half an hour or so away from team news. It's an exciting one, and there's surely a game to guarantee goals, Jacob.
Yeah, hi, thank you so much. Hoping for lots of goals. I mean, PSV were the lead goal scorers in the division last season, though having sold the likes of Cody Gakpo and Nodi Madueke in January and then Xavi Simons in the summer, they're going to have to rely on their new signings such as Noah Lang and Ricardo Pepi to chip in with the goals and push them to their first title since 2017-18. Though the Eredivisie starts today, PSV season has already started, and it started superbly. Their captain Luc de Jong scored twice against Sturm Graz as part of a 4-1 win in their first leg of the Champions League, third qualifying round on Tuesday, while their new signing, Noah Lang, made a great first impression on the PSV fans with a goal against Feyenoord to win the club their 14th Dutch Super Cup. Utrecht, on the other hand, will be hoping that last season's top goal scorer, Anastasias Douvikas, will be able to keep up his good form, having scored 19 times last season in the league, including 2 hat-tricks. They'll also be looking to avoid a repeat of last season's results against PSV, where they conceded 8 goals across both games.
Well, it's a fixture that's very one-sided in its history. I was looking and it's from what I've seen, PSV Eindhoven have won 37 of the 50 competitive games in all competitions between the two teams. Does that tell you this game's going to be one-sided?
I think you've got to give Utrecht some sort of credit. Their defending last season was pretty decent. That being said, PSV are the obvious favourites here. I mean, since winning the title in 17-18, they have come second 4 out of the 5 seasons. Which more than anything will give them the impetus to go that extra step further. Currently, the top 3 signings of the summer for the Eredivisie, 2 of them were by PSV. So there's definitely a big hope for them that they can take this the next step and win themselves another title. And Utrecht will be a good first measure for them.
Indeed. Well, we'll join Jacob again very, very shortly as he brings us team news as soon as he gets it from PSV Eindhoven versus Utrecht. Before then, though, we have the Premier League 3 o'clock kickoffs to come. And there's been some interesting signings, including a certain Nigerian international, Calvin Bassey. He signed for Fulham. And this is what he had to say on his arrival at Craven Cottage.
Of course, it's a London club as well, so always a plus to go home, family get to see games. But also I know how big of a club Fulham is. Played against not some of the boys, but in the past against Fulham Academy, and they always had quality players. So yeah, of course it's a big club in Premier League, best league in the world. So what player doesn't want to play in the Premier League? It's an amazing league, and I get to be home and do it in front of my family. So there's no better joy than that.
There we are. That's Calvin Bassey, Nigerian international, on signing for Fulham. The team news starting to trickle in around the grounds, and the first of which is coming from Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace. Ed Dowling is there to bring us up to date with the team news from Bramall Lane. How are things shaping up, Ed?
Yes, Dean, well, the team news just come in, just got it through the door here. Let's start with the host, Sheffield United. It's Foderingham in goal. It's a 3-4-3, which it looks like, remnants of the system played under the last manager when they were in the Premier League, with Basham, the captain, Egan and Robinson comprising the back 3. The midfield 4, which can drop the 2 wide players, can drop as fullbacks, as I understand it, is Baldock, Norwood, Ahmed Hodzic and Lower, with Osula and Osborne just behind new boy Benny Traore, who leads the line. As for Palace, a rather more familiar lineup. It's Odsonne Edouard leading the line, with Ayew, Eze and Schlupp in behind him. New boy Jefferson Lerma holds it down in midfield with Sheikh Doucouré, and Tyrick Mitchell, Mark Gahey, Joachim Anderson and Joel Ward make up the back four, with Sam Johnson in between the sticks. So especially from a Palace point of view, it's a very, very similar team, with only Lerma being the new player starting. So we'll see. Maybe there's an air of familiarity about Palace that can get them over the line here today. As for Sheffield United, it should be a really interesting test. Obviously, they haven't been in the Premier League for a while now. And let's see how they get on with this new look side.
Indeed, it should be exciting, and of course we'll be bringing you all the action as it happens from that game. But there is a game that is back underway in the Premier League. That's the game happening at the Emirates Stadium between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Matt, has there been any changes at half-time, or are we as you were, so to speak?
Yeah, no changes, Dean. No changes. Jurriën Timber, we thought might have come off at half time. He was, hobbling off the field at the 46th, 47th minute mark into added time, but he is back on. And as I say, Arsenal have gone back to obviously that back four with Partey at right back. That's a bit of a strange one. No changes for either side, including Forest. So no fresh legs. Steve Cooper's going to trust the men that are out there to almost damage limitation and maybe try and force an attack from somewhere. I don't know where on earth Steve Cooper is thinking we're going to get something from Forest. It's Timber has been risked by Arteta. Timber's staying on the pitch, and if you're Arteta, you're thinking, well, okay, well, he wants to play. Obviously, Timber would sit there and say, oh, play me, Mikel, play me. I don't mind. But if you're Arteta, you're 2-0 up at half time. Surely you rest Timber. I think against this sort of opposition as Forest are, you don't want to make things worse and maybe have Timber out for a longer period of time. But that's why I'm not a manager. That's why Arteta's in the hot seat. But we'll have to wait and see. 47 minutes played. It's Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0.
We'll be back with Matt. Should we get any updates from the Emirates Stadium? The team news has come in from Goodison Park. Kane is there for us, the man at the scene, to give us the update there. The team news came with Everton versus Fulham.
Yeah, Sean Dyche's first season, full season that is, in charge of Everton. Having a look at the team, it's a standard Sean Dyche formation of a 4-5-1, being nice and organised in there. He's went with experience at the back with Keane and Tarkowski and the added addition of Ashley Young in there, but a strong midfield of Onana, Gade, Decore in there. He'll really look to protect that back line, ensure a clean sheet. But a front three of Ghana, Neil Maupay and Nigerian international Alex Iwobi will hope to provide some goals. Dyche has said in his programme notes that he still feels that the squad needs strengthening and he'll be looking to do so. But on the other hand, you've got Fulham, who today are coming in and starting with summer signing Raul Jimenez, who's failed to score in his last 23 league appearances, but has netted in 5 of his 6 last games against Everton. Very simple in terms of Willian, Harry Wilson and Tom Kearney just supporting in the attack in there, and no place for any summer signings, if that's Calvin Bassey, Nigerian international, who we've just heard from in the interview, who is on the bench. But also a surprise addition of Alexander Mitrovic, who also makes the bench for today's game.
So Mitrovic on the bench, that's interesting news. So just remains to be seen whether he's got the attitude to play on that kind of standoff, demanding to go. Interesting lineups there, Kane. Do you reckon we'll see a part of him playing this afternoon?
I think it was interesting when we were listening to Marco Silva before the game, and he was talking about how he wanted the situation resolved before ever putting him in the squad. Does that mean the situation's been resolved? And then hopefully Fulham can crack on with their season and really focus on the season ahead. So that might be a possibility. I think for Fulham fans, they'd love to see their top goal scorer and that player that really helped them get to 10th place last year have a part to play. But for now, it's new summer signing Raul Jimenez who starts up front.
There we are. Well, let's see if Jimenez can be within the goals for Fulham at Goodison Park. Meanwhile, last time we were at the Emirates Stadium, Matt Smith seemed to have a crystal ball as he said Arteta should surely take off Timber. And I think you've seen into the future there, haven't you, Matt?
Well, that's one of my many, many talents, Dean. It's I just couldn't believe what I just saw. It's Timber got injured before half-time. We spoke about that, and we spoke about how it was almost a bit of a clash of knees and a bit of studs up sort of stuff. And it was a bit of, okay, get a bit of ice on it and you'll be fine for the second half. I said, I don't know why Arteta's risking him. You just, you bring someone else on. And within 2 minutes of him being on the field, he's actually done a different injury to himself. The ball, there's no one near him. It's not a tackle. There's nothing like that. He's twisting whilst receiving the ball. And I'll be honest with you, it looks a lot more serious than the first challenge before half time. It looks as if he's twisted his knee and it's stopped the play straight away. He's gone down in a heap. And he's very, very angry. He's very dejected. But I'm telling you now, this one looks a little bit more serious. And that's not the start that Jurriën Timber wanted to his Arsenal career. And Arsenal fans will be having their head in their hands, so to speak. Takahiro Tomiyasu has come on, who is a solid defender. So no sort of change there. But it's a worry for Timber, who looks in serious trouble.
Well, that is concerning for Mikel Arteta and, of course, the Arsenal fans who are finally, I think they're all in the stadium now after all the ticketing problems at the start of the game. We've got team news coming in thick and fast from our games in our 3 o'clock kickoffs. Let's head over to the game down on the south coast between Bournemouth and West Ham United. Jackson Cole is there to bring us bang up to date. Any significant changes from last season's lineup for Bournemouth new manager Areola?
Well, not too many. Andoni Iraola, he's handed a debut just to one of his new signings in Max Aarons, the right back joining from Norwich on Thursday. Meanwhile, Hamid Traore and Justin Kluivert, they're on the bench. An interesting fact about Kluivert, he's looking to become the second player to score in all 5 major European leagues after former Manchester City star Stefan Jovetic. No new signs in West Ham's 11, with David Moyes saying Edson Alvarez is not available today. However, there is a starting spot for a player that could be on the way out of the club, with Manchester City link Lucas Paquetá playing. Leading the line is Michail Antonio, with Gianluca Scamacca leaving earlier this week, while heroes from the Conference League finals, Said Benrahma and Jared Bowen, they're also getting the nod. It's really hard to predict what sort of sides we'll see early doors in the 2023-24 season, but both sides will have the same brief: stay in the division, but possibly try to break into that top 10. And hopefully with that, we'll see an entertaining contest. It's Bournemouth versus West Ham with kickoff not too far away.
Brilliant stuff. Looking forward to catching up with all of the action down at the Vitality Stadium. Meanwhile, there is a game going on in the Championship. Last we heard, Coventry were well in charge against Middlesbrough, leading by 2 goals. Now we're into the final 5 minutes or so there. Ryan, can you update us how Middlesbrough are looking to find a way back in it, or is it plain sailing for Coventry?
Yeah, that second goal really has calmed Coventry down. Middlesbrough haven't had much since then. They've made a flurry of substitutions, but it looks like they're going to be losing their second consecutive game at the start of the season. Michael Carrick won't be panicking too much, of course. Last season when he came in and took over the club, they were a point above the relegation zone and he propelled them into the playoffs. But on today's showing, I think they're really missing those goals from Cameron Archer and Chupa Akpom. They scored 39 between them last season, and they're going to have to find a way of replacing those, because since the second goal, they've looked pretty toothless, Middlesbrough, even though they have knocked it around and played some nice football generally. 85 minutes gone, Coventry 2-0 up against Middlesbrough and looking comfortable.
So looking comfortable for Coventry. Are Arsenal looking comfortable now they're without their summer signing, Julian Timber? Let's head back to Matt Smith at the Emirates Stadium to see how they fare with their slight change in the back line.
Yeah, they're still in control, Dean. They are. It's almost like a training game. They are very much in control. The pass is in this middle third that you can see Odegaard and Kai Havertz and Partey and Rice. It's fantastic having all 4 of those players. It is like a training game. It's brilliant to watch. Nottingham Forest, they haven't had a sniff. It's as simple as that. They're still pressing in waves. You know, they're coming and going. And when Arsenal have a little bit of a dodgy pass or a little bit of a mistake here and there, Forest are on them. You know, they're on them fast. But you know, Arsenal are dealing with the pressure quite well. You know, that they haven't really been. Ramsdale hasn't really been tested. The back 3 and 4 haven't really been tested since that Brennan Johnson half chance that he put over. So, you know, 54 minutes played, business as usual. Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0. Arsenal seemingly in control and in charge. A team that were very often in charge and comfortable last season were Brighton Hove Albion. Team users coming in from the Amex Stadium. They take on Premier League new boys Luton Town this afternoon. Richard Bond is there with the latest.
Welcome back to a rather atmospheric Amex Stadium, where we have Brighton taking on Premier League new boys Luton. Excitement's brewing here as a packed away stand. You can see the Luton fans are in full voice this afternoon. With success comes great interest in your players, as Roberto De Zerbi's found. Lots to see Kevral players. Argentinian World Cup winner McAllister's gone to Liverpool, whilst recent developments have seen Moise Caicedo miss out on this one, with the club planning for life without the Ecuadorian. Levi Colwell is also a regular last year. He's returned to parent club Chelsea, while Robert Sanchez also moved to Stamford Bridge. So it's a bit of a rebuilding job for the Seagulls. They've made several summer signings, and a few of them are named in the team today, including former Dortmund playmaker Mahoud Dahoud and former Watford trickster Joe Pedro, as they look to build on last season's 6th place finish. Jason Steele has been preferred to £20 million Belgian Bart Verbruggen in goals, whilst evergreen utility man James Milner will make his 620th Premier League appearance after moving from Liverpool. Danny Welbeck's preferred up front for Brighton, Evan Ferguson lacking that little bit of fitness after not having many minutes in pre-season. As for the visitors, this is going to be really exciting for them to be their first foray into the Premier League to win in the Championship playoffs last season. Remarkable achievement for a club that's risen from non-league in just 10 years. Congo international midfielder Peli Ruddock Mapwazu has experienced the whole Hatters journey and set to be the first player for the same club top 5 leagues as he lines up in the midfield this afternoon. Carlton Morris is the main man for them. He plays up front. He scored 20 goals last year in their promotion campaign in a team which includes 5 debutants. Goalkeeper Thomas Kaminski comes from Belgium. Defender Issa Kabore is on loan from Manchester City, but he'll provide a bit of youth and pace in defence. Marvis and Kamba will come into midfield to add that little bit of Premier League experience after joining from Aston Villa. Tad Chong, a former Manchester United trainee, will also give a bit of creativity, joining from Birmingham. It's no place for Ross Barkley who builds his fitness, while Lagos-born winger Chidozie Ogbena has to make do with a place on the bench after joining from Rotherham. Rob Edwards is cider unfancied, but Luton will revel under the underdog tag and will look to cause a surprise this afternoon. I'm looking forward to a really good battle here. It's Brighton versus Luton. Kick off in about 40 minutes' time.
Well, Richard, if I just grab you for a second there, it's kind of a clash of styles, isn't it, between Chidozie, sorry, I've got Ogbena on their brain, between Brighton's footballing style and Luton's sort of Route 1 ruthless football. It could make for an interesting time. I remember at the back end of last season, Everton kind of exploiting Brighton, playing a similar style.
Yes, well, it's interesting going to be seeing how Brighton line up with the new players, but Luton were particularly good defensively last year. They only conceded 37 goals. It was the third least in the championship. We expect them to really be quite hard to break down in this opening period. They'll make life hard for Brighton to really play their normal game. I'm expecting a close game, but I'm sure the first goal will really make a big impact in this one. If Brighton maybe get it, perhaps it's going to be a long day for Luton. But if they can hold on, we could be on for a shock.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you. We'll be back to Richard as soon as the game kicks off between Brighton Hove Albion and Luton Town. Meanwhile, in the Championship, there's been another goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Is it game over or game on? Let's join Ryan Benjamin to find out.
Game over here, 3-0 to Coventry. Matthew Gooden gets his second goal, and Mark Robbins will be absolutely delighted with this one. Gooden and Hadji have linked up together. They're 2 centre forwards who they've brought in to hopefully replace the goals of Victor Gyökeres, and it's going very well here today. He's tried to cross it, it's deflected off Paddy McNair and just wrong-footed the goalkeeper and gone in. It's very fortuitous from Gooden, but he'll take it. I think it's probably going to go down, probably as an own goal. But 3-0 to Coventry, it's game over. It looked like game over for a while, to be fair, but that's just put the icing on the cake, really. Great day for Coventry, 3-0 here, going into injury time.
Brilliant stuff for Coventry. Their season well and truly underway. We were mentioning earlier about Ogbena, the Luton Town signing from Rotherham. We managed to catch up with him ahead of the new season, and he was just telling us about his Irish roots.
My parents are both nurses. My dad is practicing nurse right now. He was offered a job in Miami. I think, I'm not exactly sure why, but he decided to bring us to Ireland. I think it was the best decision he could have taken for us, and I'm delighted with it because obviously, I played for the Republic of Ireland, the first African-born player to play for the Republic of Ireland, and I see how much joy and I bring to my family, and those I grew up with in Ireland. I think it's an achievement and an honour that I'm very grateful for, and I'm just so happy that I can influence obviously the future generation with my journey and with my experiences to believe that anything is possible.
There we have it. Ogbena is lining up. We will just see what's going back on at the Emirates Stadium. Has there been any way back into the game for Nottingham Forest? Last time we heard it was all Arsenal. It was almost like a training game. Any signs at all from the travelling team?
Yeah, it's I had a half chance about 4 or 5 minutes ago that they've resorted, Forest, in trying to think of different ways to get into the Arsenal box, and they've resorted in Ola Aina's humongous throw, and he throws it right into the box on this half chance, and the ball sort of scrabbled around, and Ryan Yates is in there, and the ball is headed onto his feet. Basically, it's fallen perfectly to him. But it's a fantastic point blank save from Aaron Ramsdale. On later inspection, Ryan Yates is offside, but Aaron Ramsdale didn't know that. It's a very, very good save. He thought that was going to be 2-1, but he's kept his side on it. Obviously, the offside flag did go up, but that's the half chance they've had. Arsenal having a little bit less of the ball now. Forest having their own little spells here and there, but again, they've got to build some sort of attack, and they've got to try and break down this sort of four-man Arsenal midfield that's a bank in front of the back four. So it's 61 minutes played. Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Matt. You are listening to Football Live.
Coming up tomorrow on Football Live with Barry Swain. Join us live and exclusive from 2:30 until 6:30, including Chelsea, Liverpool, Premier League action. Football Live will be around the grounds chasing the goals.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Domestic football is back and NairaBet has you covered. Fancy a free bet to get the season underway? Place an ACCA with 11 plus selections and get a 500 Naira free bet every day. Football is finally flowing again and you have plenty to pick from. Whether it is the Premier League, Ligue 1, La Liga, MLS or even the Saudi Pro League, make it more interesting with NairaBet. All you need to do is head to the website and place your combi bet to get involved. Must be 18 plus. Maximum of 1 free bet awarded each day. Minimum stake of 500 Naira. Minimum amount of 1.2 per selection. General and free bet terms and conditions apply. Visit www.nairabet.com/bonus for full details. Please gamble responsibly.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, BrilaSports.tv and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Around the grounds, chasing the goals.
A goal that is going to blow open the title race in the Bundesliga.
Well, this wasn't supposed to happen.
It's been an unbelievable day here on Football Live.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. With Dean Kilford.
Well, welcome back to Football Live, and let's head straight to the action and back to the game between Coventry and Middlesbrough in the Championship, where there's been another chance, I believe, Ryan.
Yeah, another massive chance for Haji Wright. Middlesbrough have to be careful here because they could end up 4 or 5. Haji Wright went through, and Matthew Fry came over and blocked it from about 6 yards. It went out for a corner, and even when the corner came in, Seny Dieng, the Senegalese goalkeeper, flapped at it and dropped it. Fortunately, it fell to a Middlesbrough player. But I think they'll just be hoping for the final whistle. As Coventry 3-0 up, could have been 4, could have added to their scoreline already. Mark Robbins will be delighted, though, that his front pairing are looking very, very sharp. Hadji Wright in particular, the £9 million man, scoring once, having another chance. There's a few minutes to go. There's been 8 minutes of stoppage time. There's a few minutes left. Coventry 3-0 up for now. Middlesbrough just want the game to end, I think. Nearly full time, 3-0 to Coventry.
Coventry certain to get all 3 points this afternoon. Of course, the added time, one of the new features of the Premier League and the Championship this season, due to the similar kind of thing that we saw in the Qatar World Cup, where all of the stoppages are going to be added on for goal celebrations, bookings, time wasting. We will see these longer and later finishes. There's been a bit of controversy about one of the games, and we've not even kicked off yet. It features the Premier League new boys Sheffield United as they take on Crystal Palace. At Bramall Lane, Ed Dowling is there. There's been a bit of adverse reaction to the Sheffield United team that's been named this afternoon, I believe, Ed.
Yeah, not the best start, I don't think, for Sheffield United. They haven't kicked the ball yet. I've just been browsing social media just in anticipation of the game, and the reaction has been really bad to the lineup. Apparently, I had it slightly wrong. Chris Basham is actually playing in midfield with Ahmed Hozic playing at centre-back. So I think the prospect of what really is a Championship centre-back playing in your midfield for your first Premier League game isn't too appealing any of the Sheffield United fans, and they've made that very much known. So we'll see how that affects the atmosphere. It shouldn't affect the atmosphere. I think Sheffield United fans are known for how well they support their team. But I just thought it's worth pointing out that this is really not the ideal start for the Blades.
Absolutely not. You need your support from your home team, specifically in a game that you wouldn't label it must-win first game of the season, but they'd certainly look at the fixtures at the start of the season and go, this is a game that they could potentially get points from. Oh, certainly, and to lose badly, I think today is going to cast the season in a very negative light from the get-go. Where really against Crystal Palace, which aren't, they are a Premier League side, they're a mid-table Premier League side. Let's be honest. You should be expecting a positive result on your first game back. So a disappointing defeat, I think, will raise some question marks already. Not only about Paul Heckingbottom, but about Sheffield United and their ability to stay in the division this year. Absolutely. Well, we'll wait to see whether that gamble of shoring up the midfield is going to pay off. But unpleasant scenes at Bramall Lane for the Blades as they look to take on the Eagles. Will they cut them to pieces? Doesn't look likely if you're feeling the opinions of the Sheffield United fans. It's quite vociferous online as well from what we're seeing. Let's head to a game that is going on in the Premier League. We're into about the last 20 minutes or so at the Emirates Stadium. The game between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Arsenal 2 goals to the good, but Forest just finding a way back into it last we heard. Is that still the case, Matt? Any chance of a Forest goal and a comeback?
Well, just as you come to me, funnily enough, Super Eagle Ole Aina has just had a shot. It should have been a corner. Oh, it has been given a corner. But it's a good 25-yard strike. He shifted it onto his right foot. He's normally playing sort of really quite far up the pitch, but he's sort of dropped into the centre and he's cut in from the left and he's hit it, and it's just come off an Arsenal defender's leg. It's a corner just been taken by Forest, but it's been frustrating the second half for Forest fans and players. Anytime they're on the ball, it doesn't really amount to anything, and Arsenal just launched their own attack. So it's just that sort of story for the past 70 minutes, really. Arsenal having control of the ball, Forest have a little bit, and they think, oh, here we go, we're going to have a chance here. Oh no, that chance has gone as well. So it's more of the same. I've seen a few Forest players warming up on the sideline. Steve Cooper's maybe looking to change a few things. Taiwo Iwaniyi's warming up. Nico Williams is warming up. So they're all attacking moves. We'll see if they actually feature. But it's 70 minutes played. It's Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0.
Well, still 2-0 there. We're just going to jump back to Ed, who is covering the game between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace, but also is well versed with the comings and goings at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and probably one of the biggest transfer stories of the summer. It's been ongoing. It's finally ended this morning with Harry Kane leaving his boyhood club to join Bayern Munich. for a reported fee of around £100 million plus additional extras. How has this news gone down at the old White Hart Lane, Ed?
Not particularly well, Dean, as you can imagine. I think a lot of the sentiment, the negative sentiment, isn't directed towards Kane himself. I think the consensus really is this is a move he's earned after, nearly 10 years or over 10 years, I believe, of just pure quality, dragging the team to really high place finishes in the league. And really, as a Spurs fan, you wonder where they'd be without him. So much of the ire is not directed towards him. It's more towards the club and specifically towards the board, namely Daniel Levy, of course. In letting the situation come to this, where they feel, I think Tottenham fans generally, if I could speak on their behalf, feel that Kane's ambition has not been matched in the right way by the club, and ultimately this is the reason why he's left. And he's shown more loyalty, I think, than most professional footballers do, in the modern game. And he still had to leave because, in terms of competitiveness, Spurs just simply aren't there. And I think he's right in wanting to move if trophies and success is what he wants. So yeah, in summary, I think there's a lot of anger and a lot of sadness, but none of which is directed towards Kane himself. So it's a strange old situation, but it does happen. We saw it with Arsenal with Thierry Henry, 10, 20 years ago when he left for Barcelona. It's quite a similar situation there, but a player that can't achieve what they need to achieve at their club and ultimately has to move abroad to get that success, Dean.
Do you think there is any anger towards Kane? Only in the fact that he never spoke through the whole of the summer. We've since learned yesterday in the press conference that new manager Ange Postecoglou was aware from day one that Kane wanted to leave, was going to very likely leave. Hearing that news, has that not... do you not think that there might be some negative there, or is it purely all towards the board and the handling of the transfer?
It's tricky to summarise an entire fan base's opinion on anything these days. And I don't doubt a lot of people will be sending him hate or publicly saying, they don't agree that he should have voiced his opinion that he wanted to leave. But I think the general consensus would be, look, he's done his time at Tottenham. He tried to leave in the wrong way 2 years ago, and the fans made it very clear what they felt about that decision. But this particular way, he's come off probably his best season in a Tottenham shirt, and the team performance was far from good, finishing 8th in the end with no European football. So I think the general consensus is, look, he's done what he can. He's offered so much of his career to Tottenham, and his decision to leave ultimately, for him, I don't think a normal Spurs fan would begrudge him for doing that. But you never know, Dean. In this world, there's going to be people saying all kinds of things, I imagine. But yeah, no, it's a sad time for Tottenham. But again, it's a time to move on and see what they can do in a post-Kane world. Heung-min Son is going to be the new sort of franchise name, if you like, and let's see if he can cope with that particular title.
Well, Son, of course, played as deputy to Kane many times when he was injured through his last few seasons. Or do you think it's going to maybe with Charleston step up this season, or young Dane Scarlett, as he scored in pre-season? Is he a man ready to make his mark in a similar way to Kane did back in, was it 2008, I believe?
Yeah, no, I think the more romantic Spurs fan would want Dane Scarlett to come in and fill the boots of Harry Kane and keep that sort of progression going. In terms of what I think will happen, they are looking to acquire, I believe, a couple strikers. The Nigerian gift Orban, I believe, is top of the shopping list. And as a Spurs fan myself, to get someone like him in as a replacement, well, it makes the pain of Kane leaving a bit easier, to be honest, because he looks like a real prospect. And yeah, in terms of the pressure, I think Richarlison's going to be the one to have to deal with it and score the goals. Obviously, a really disappointing season last year. But we'll see how he can cope. I believe he'll have a better season this year. He can't really have much of a worse season. But in terms of the goals and who's going to score the goals, it's going to rely on him. It's really going to rely on Heung-min Son as well. And Kulusevski off the right too. And we'll see if the young prospects like Dane Scarlett and if Gift Orban comes in, him as well, and how they can cope with the pressure. One thing is for sure though, Dean, the goals are going to have to be spread a bit more evenly across the board if Tottenham are going to, well, if they're going to stay in the division, to be quite honest with you.
Indeed, they certainly did rely on the goals of Harry Kane last season just to secure the 8th place that they achieved at the end. So, well, thank you for that, Ed. Meanwhile, there's been a few changes to the team sheet, at least at the Emirates Stadium, if not the scoreline. Matt Smith, can you update us with who has come on and where?
So yeah, Nottingham Forest have made a couple of subs. Nico Williams and Taiwo Iwani, the Nigerian striker, both on. That's an attacking move. It's the last chance of getting any, something, well, at least something from this game for Forest. And coming off with Danilo and Ola Aina, so one Super Eagle for another. Two of the arguably the most creative players on the pitch have come off, which is a strange one. Very influential in any of the Nottingham Forest attacks. So they're setting up now with Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson behind Taiwo Iwaniyi. So that's 3 very, very attacking players, which is what they need. And one Arsenal substitute as well to talk about is Leandro Trossard has come on for Eddie Nketiah, who's also come off. And, he contributed with the opening goal, set the wheels in motion. Just as you came to me there, Declan Rice has tested Matt Turner there with another thunderbolt of a strike. It's a really good sort of... almost a curling looking for a finish, but it's Matt Turner who's tipped it onto the post and then gone out for a corner. So Declan Rice almost making it 3 there, but we're 77 minutes played. Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0.
Arsenal seemingly seeing out this one to climb to 2nd place in a very early embryotic Premier League table. Meanwhile, it is full time at the game at the Championship. That game featured Coventry and Middlesbrough. Ryan Benjamin was there watching all the action. What turned out to be a very comfortable afternoon for the hosts.
Yeah, it was a good response from Coventry after losing to Leicester on the first game of the season. Matthew Gooden scoring from close range after 11 minutes. Haji Wright, the £9 million man and the 2nd most expensive player in Coventry's history, coming on and scoring after 70 minutes, rifling one in with his left foot. And then an own goal in the 91st minute from Dara Lenihan from a Matthew Gooden cross. Put end to a pretty sad day for Middlesbrough. And they'll just be looking to move on from this, really. It's back-to-back defeats for them. It's another defeat to Coventry after they lost to them last season as well in the playoff semi-finals. Onwards and upwards for Coventry. Still work to do for Middlesbrough, though. Full time at the CBS Arena, 3-0 to Coventry.
So, Ryan, after seeing Middlesbrough this afternoon, should there be any concerns for the Borough fans travelling? I know it's early stages, but with obviously losing those key players at the end of last season during the summer, do you think that it could be a real struggle for Borough?
It's difficult to say because there's so long left and the Championship is such a strange division, really. I mean, the season before Michael Carrick came in, they finished 7th just on the edge of the playoffs. And then when he took over, they were a point above the relegation zone, but he propelled them into the playoffs after 20 wins and 5 draws from 35 games. So they had a worse start to this last season, but still made it to the playoffs. So you wouldn't be panicking too much knowing what Michael Carrick can do. But I say, after a pre-season and the season they had last season, to come into this season losing twice on the bounce, it might be a little bit concerning for Middlesbrough, but I still think they're one of the favourites to make the playoffs, despite what happened today.
Well, that remains to be seen. Thank you very much, Ryan Benjamin, who brought us all the action there for Coventry versus Middlesbrough. Final score, Coventry 3, Middlesbrough 0. We'll be switching our attention pretty much solely to the Premier League. There is a game kicking off later on this evening featuring Newcastle United, who are back in the Champions League this season against a very interesting looking Unai Emery inspired Aston Villa team. It's going to be a difficult one to call, but Eddie Howe was talking to us ahead of that game just to see what the season looks like for the Geordies.
Yeah, I feel we're in a good place. I think it was an intense pre-season period for us, especially with the trip to America. That felt, with the travelling and everything that comes with it, it was a really good experience. We enjoyed it from lots of different aspects. Came back, and I think it's been really good to get the 2 weeks back here. The double header at the weekend, I think, sort of finished off where we needed to be. I think now we enter the season probably where you'd expect to be after a full pre-season, fit, eager, and looking forward to the challenge.
Was Eddie Howe there talking ahead of their game against Aston Villa. It's a 5:30 kickoff this evening. And so let's head back to the Emirates Stadium. We're into about the last 10 minutes there. Any changes to the scoreline, Matt? Are Forest pushing on?
Yeah, no changes to the scoreline. It is still 2-0 to Arsenal, 80-minute mark. But Anthony Elanga's just entered the field of play. Let's see if he likes the spotlight. He would have had the spotlight a few times at Manchester United as a bit part player, but there's a few nights that Manchester United fans will remember where Elanga took the spotlight and won a few games for them. Last-minute equalisers, last-minute wins. So we'll see if he enjoys the spotlight. It's Brennan Johnson that's come off. A little bit frustrated to come off. He didn't really have his chances that he normally has week in, week out. But Anthony Elanga is on, another attacking move, but it's fresh legs for Steve Cooper. Maybe damage limitation sort of thing. It's 81 minutes played. It's still Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 0.
Well, certainly plenty of pace there with Elanga coming on. The signing from Manchester United. Let's switch our attention away from the Premier League just momentarily. We'll head over to the Eredivisie where PSV Eindhoven are playing Utrecht. Jacob Kollick is covering that one for us this afternoon, and I believe the team news has just landed.
Yep, we've got the team news here at the Philipsstadion. PSV have named an unchanged side from their 4-1 win against Sturm Graz on Tuesday. I suppose why change a winning team? Walter Benitez starts in goal with a back four of former Crystal Palace player Patrick Van Aanholt, Olivier Boscagli, Andre Ramalho and Jordan Teze. Ibrahim Sangare sits at the base of a midfield three with Isaac Babadi and Joey Veerman ahead of him, while new signing Noah Lang starts on the left wing opposite Johan Bakayoko with captain Luke de Jong up front. 4 of their starting 11 has already scored this season in the Champions League and the Dutch Cup, so Utrecht are going to have to be at their best to keep the PSV assault at bay. PSV will be hoping that no Gakpo, no Madueke and no Xavi Simons is still no problem. For Utrecht, meanwhile, there's no sight of the new signing Zidane Iqbal, who's joined from Manchester United this summer, but last season's joint top goal scorer does start, with Anastasias Douvikas hoping to build on a season where he scored 19 goals and assisted a further 4. Goalkeeper Vasilios Barkas, midfielder Kan Bogdan and defender Modibo Sagnan all start after signing for the club on a permanent deal after being on loan last season.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. We'll be back with Jacob momentarily, but there's been another huge goal in the Premier League.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's the Nigerian main man, Awoniyi, who's got that goal to bring Nottingham Forest right back into the game at the Emirates Stadium. We'll join Matt Smith momentarily there to bring us right up to date with that. Meanwhile, we've got our NairaBet betting expert, Ayu Alabi, in the studio with us. Good afternoon to you, Ayo.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. How are things looking? You excited for the new season?
It's looking very exciting for the new season. The summer has gone so quick. It's almost unbelievable that we're here sitting down today talking about the first game of the season when literally it felt like just a week or two ago when we last spoke. But anyway, what matches are we looking into today?
Well, I believe we're looking at the games between, I believe Everton versus Fulham is the first game we're going to look at this afternoon.
Everton against Fulham. Okay, surprisingly, I don't know how Everton are the favourites for this game. Honestly, because they had a shocking season last season and are 2.25 with NairaBet. I think they're too short. A draw is 3.40 and Fulham are 3.30. It's a difficult one to call because you think Everton finished last season dismally. Fulham finished very well. But again, at the same time, Sean Dyche, this is the first time he's having a full preseason with his team because obviously he took over mid-season last season. And that may help, even though Everton have not really brought in too many players. 2.25 is a good price for Everton to win the game. If you fancy Fulham, as I said, it's 3.30 and Everton to win 1-0 is 7.00. I think Everton will win 1-0 and they will probably, of course, they will keep a clean sheet if it's 1-0.
Absolutely. It's going to be a tight game. Sean Dyche, of course, is known for his defensive style of football. Let's find out about the odds in the game down on the South Coast between Brighton and New Boys Luton. Surely Brighton overwhelming favourites for that one.
Well, Brighton are overwhelming favourites at 1.33. A draw is 5.50 and Luton are a big 9.50 to win the game. it's not. It's going to be a straightforward game. I know Brighton have lost players here and there, but at the same time, they will have too much for losing, who themselves haven't brought in too many players during the summer. I think Brighton will win. 1.33 is too short a price, but Brighton to win first half and the second half. So Brighton, 1.85. That's my value bet of that particular game.
Brilliant stuff. And finally, let's look at the evening kickoff between Newcastle and Aston Villa. Should be a tight one between these two.
This is probably the game of the day. Newcastle finished the season fantastically well last season. Excuse me. Same thing with Villa. Villa, where when Unai Emery took over, they were something like in the 16th, 17th, and they ended up finishing in the top 6 or top 7. This season, I think Villa might be the team to crash the top 6. Newcastle at 1.73 are too short. A draw is 4.00, and Aston Villa to win the game at 4.75. I think there'll be goals in this game. Aston Villa are on the attacking side under Emery. Newcastle under Eddie Howe, they attack and they do keep. They've got a very strong defense. Last season they had a very strong defense in the league, but I think Aston Villa will be able to get points in this game. I think it will be a draw or both teams to. A draw is 4.00, and both teams to score.
Both teams to score.
Sorry, one sec. It's not loading up. So, okay, both teams to score is 1.20. Both teams score is 1.20. So, it's a tough one to call, but I think it's going to be a draw. 4.00 would be the best of the game for me.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you, as always, our betting expert, Ayo Alabi, with the latest odds. Meanwhile, let's go and catch up with that goal that happened at the Emirates Stadium between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Forest back in it, Matt Smith.
Forest are back in it, absolutely right. And it's that man, Anthony Elanga, who entered the field of play just moments ago. And it's a breakdown from a corner, and Anthony Elanga has sprinted near on the full length of the pitch. And Taiwo Iwaniyi is in support of him. Elanga's got into the Arsenal box, he's put it back to Iwaniyi, and he's scored, and it's made it 2-1. Forest, since the goal, have been piling on the pressure. Arsenal, meanwhile, are parking that bus. Gabriel, the centre-half, Gabriel is on, Martinelli is off. Mikel Arteta is shutting up shop. He's 2-1 up at the moment, 88 minutes played, but he's thinking, right, defensive moves are needed. It's Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1, game on.
2 minutes to go, plus whatever stoppage time is to be added at the Emirates Stadium. And as we know, there's bound to be quite a lot. There's been a few substitutions happening there. It's pretty much time for us to head back to the studio, the Brilla FM studio. And we shall do that right now.
This is a commercial break exclusive to Nigeria and Africa alone. But don't worry, Football Live will be back very, very shortly.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brilla FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, BrilaSports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
This is Football Live.
And you could not have scripted this.
It's crazy, absolutely insane. Oh my dearie me. I don't want to laugh or cry.
It's a show that's packed to the brim.
Oh my word, what is going on here?
An unbelievable day here on Football Live.
Means there's action everywhere you look.
Great entertainment.
That's fantastic.
Wow, just wow.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live, powered by NairaBet, with Dean Kilford.
We are back with Football Live with all the goals as they go in the Premier League and all the big games around Europe and across the globe. The biggest games, the biggest goals, the biggest stars here on Football Live. There's a big game happening or just happened in the Premier League. It's full time. Last we heard, it was Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Matt Smith is there to tell us, did Arsenal manage to hold out or are their teeth, are their nails bitten down to the very ends on the first day of the season?
Yes, they were able to hold on to the 3 points. You know, for the whole 45 minutes, Arsenal were in total control and were putting in hard work to break down that Nottingham Forest defence. But all that hard work almost came undone. It was a Saliba error, just let the ball bounce in front of him, and it left with Brennan Johnson through on goal, but he lifted the ball over Aaron Ramsdale just before half-time, as well as the goal. He lobbed the keeper and the goal, so it went over. It was a huge chance for Forest. But then Arsenal scored 2 goals in 6 minutes. That shut Forest up straight away. 26 minutes in, and Nketiah with a great strike. It was a little deflection off Joe Worrell, but it beat Matt Turner. Doesn't matter how you get the goals, Arsenal found themselves 1-0 up. And 6 minutes later, Bukayo Saka with arguably already one of the goals of the season. A great goal. He's on the right. He cuts in onto his left foot, his favoured left foot. He's got about 3 or 4 Nottingham Forest defenders to try and whip it round, and he does it. He does so. He whips it round the Nottingham Forest defenders and Matt Turner to make it 2-0. Arsenal were dominant for the remainder of that half. They had 88% of the possession. It was meant to be plain sailing for Arsenal, and it was for the entirety of that second half up until the 82nd minute. Until ex-Manchester United forward Anthony Elanga ran the length of the pitch on the breakdown of a corner. He cut it back to Super Eagle Taiwo Iwaniyi to make it 2-1. Maybe there was a chance of a draw for Forest. They chucked the kitchen sink at Arsenal. They gave everything that they had, but no. Arsenal parked the bus. Gabriel came on for Martinelli, and they kept hold of those valuable 3 points. It could have been disastrous, but it has finished here. It's Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Matt. Arsenal with the 3 points, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, starting the season with a victory. But of course, that big blow, Matt, losing Timber to injury, not the injury that was sustained just before half-time, but that seemingly innocuous pulling, was it the knee, I think, just early in the second half. That could be a costly blow to the Arsenal team.
I believe so, yeah. I think it's, as you say, it was almost out of nowhere. I think the challenge he put in just before half-time, where he received treatment, that was a bit of a clash of knees. That was no concern there. But I think, 2-3 minutes into that second half, he's just about to receive the ball, and it looks as if his knee, dare I say it, goes. And his knee goes a little bit flimsy, a little bit loose, and he's straight down on the floor and he's whacking the grass. He was writhing around in pain. And I have to be honest, Nottingham Forest, they were playing quite aggressively, shoving players off the ball, and when the ball had just gone, they're shoving, leaving a little bit extra on these Arsenal players. And that's the only thing that Arteta has got to be very careful of. He's lost Timber today. Hopefully not too long a time that he's out for. They can't rely on Tomiyasu at left back the entire time. Zinchenko's still to come back as well. But having injuries this early on in the season, if you're going to go and challenge again for the title, it's not so good looking, is it?
Absolutely not, and it will be a concern. But the transfer window is still open should they need to get a replacement. But surely the bank is dry with all the money they've spent on Rice and Havertz, not to mention Timber. Can't imagine them bringing anyone else in should they need to.
No, absolutely not. You think of that sort of left-back position. Timber, can play centre-back, right-back, left-back, that's a good utility sort of player across that back four. With him out, you're looking at Tomiyasu. Okay, did a solid job today. Zinchenko, Tierney, all these sort of players that are injury-prone, and Timber adds to that list. It's his first game in the league, and he's already injured, and it looks like it could be a serious one. So whether that comes down to the Arsenal scouting, whether that comes down to the behind-the-scenes sort of work that they're doing to stop these injuries happening, it's a bit of a concern on the first day of the season that Arteta's got. But it was the title challenger last season, Arsenal, with the same sort of problems, so we can't write them off on the first day, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and from a Forest point of view, of course, Steve Cooper would be happy with the way that the team came back into it. Maybe that was the game plan, to try and hold Arsenal off and try and hit them with pace at the end of the game. Promising signs for them going into the rest of the season?
Yeah, surprisingly, at 2-0, you would say, oh, Forest look way, way off it. But I think with the introduction of Elanga in the 82nd minute, maybe Forest fans are looking at that and saying, well, he's got to start next time. He has to start, or he has to come on earlier. Because if we go behind, we can bring him on that extra fresh legs. The speed that he ran, Dean, is unbelievable. From his own box all the way with the ball. It's hard enough when you're going sort of side by side sprinting with someone. When you've got the ball in front of you as well, you almost have to slow down and really try and take care of the ball. But his blistering pace set up the goal. So it's promising looking at that. They held Arsenal off for a long, long time. Fair enough, 2-0 up until the 82nd minute. It could have been a lot more, but thanks to the Forest defenders, and Matt Turner had a half-decent game. So it's the first game against Arsenal. Arsenal were title challengers. They're one of the best teams in the league. So if you're Steve Cooper, you think, okay, well, we've only lost 2-1. It could have been 4-5-1 at times, but we have to look at that with some sort of positives. They can't be negative straight away. Forest fans look at that and go, okay, we build on that. Elanga maybe comes on earlier. Is he the answer to our prayers? Maybe.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see how the season pans out for both of these clubs. Thank you very, very much to Matt Smith covering the game between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Final score there, Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Now, we have games kicking off thick and fast in the 3 o'clock kickoffs of the Premier League, all 4 games underway. Let's head first to the game at Goodison Park between Everton versus Fulham. Kane, I believe it's been a bit of a lively opener.
What a start to this game so far. The atmosphere is absolutely jumping here at Goodison Park, and Fulham kick off the game and casually start to build up from the back. Tim Ream, the American international, looks to just clip a ball down the left-hand side to Harry Wilson, and the ball's intercepted by James Garner. He slides in Neil Maupay looking for his first goal for Everton, and he just misses and slides it past the far post. From that, the goal kick from Fulham, the kick-off, Harrison receives the ball. He gets 1v1 with Patterson on the left-hand side and delivers a great ball in with Raul Jimenez just missing the cross with Ashley Young to go and clear there. Ashley Young becoming Everton's oldest outfield debutant ever in their history today. It's been so eventful so far, but 3 minutes in, it is Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Still Everton 0, Fulham 0 at Goodison Park. Let's head to the game now at the Amex Stadium between Brighton Hove Albion and New Boys Luton Town. Brighton are heavy favourites going to this one. Are the visitors doing anything to dispel those odds?
Well, they look a bit nervy so far, Dean. It's all Brighton so far in this first 10 minutes. We've had a couple of chances for Brighton too. The first one, new boy De Hood took a corner from the left-hand side, whipped it in. Lewis Dunk unmarked at the back post, heads wide. Quite a good opportunity, that one. Bit of a hard angle, but he probably should have thought he would have done better. Even better opportunity minutes later, though. João Pedro on his debut got played through. Pascal Gross on the right-hand side, went past his man, put a lovely little ball across the box. Pedro comes in. You think he's going to smash in the back of the net. He scuffed it. It's gone wide. So nervy stuff from Luton so far. I think they're starting to get a little foothold of possession, but it's not looking so good for them at the moment. It's Brighton 0, Luton 0, about 8 minutes on the clock.
So Luton just about holding their own in the game there against Brighton Hove Albion. Let's head now to the game at Bramall. We'll head to the game between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace at Bramall Lane. Ed is there for us, Ed Dowling. How's the early set? Is the home fans still grumbling?
Oh, they met their team to really, really good atmosphere, actually, as you'd expect from the Sheffield United fans. In terms of the game itself, it's been quite stop-start, which you would expect. A lot of fouls. Really good energy, though, from Sheffield United. They're pressing higher up the field than I would have expected. Crystal Palace haven't really ventured into the Sheffield United half so far. So I think if you're a Sheffield United fan, the first sort of 7-8 minutes been pretty strong. From a Palace perspective, we don't know. They've got a lot more quality, I'd say, especially in the attacking sense. Of Eberechi Eze, Edward Edouard as well. He's really, really good. So we'll see how the game plays out. But so far, an even contest, 0-0 here at Bramall Lane.
Tight and tense, as you'd expect, between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Let's head back to the game quickly at Goodison Park, where there's been another huge chance. Kane Wears is there to tell us what happened.
Yeah, Nigerian international Alex Iwobi picks the ball up on the right-hand side and really somehow gets this crowd going even more by nutmegging one player and Maradona spinning the other with the crowd olaying. He slides a ball in for Abdoulaye Doucouré, making a great third-man run from midfield, who gets 1v1 with Bert Leno, and he really should do better, but he smashes it straight off the German goalkeeper, who collects it and looks to play out, but it really should be 1-0 Everton now. But 8 minutes gone, it's Everton 0. Fulham.
So still 0-0 between Everton and Fulham. Fulham failed to win their first 27 league games away at Goodison Park, but have won their last 2. We'll see how this one pans out in the remaining 80-odd minutes or so there. There's one other game in the 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League. That game is down on the South Coast between Bournemouth and West Ham United. Jackson Cole is our man there reporting on the game. Jackson, how have things started?
Well, West Ham have certainly started the better. They've controlled the possession. They've had a couple of chances which have kind of drifted harmlessly wide of the goal. The first one went to Pablo Fornal, and the second one a couple of minutes later to Jared Bowen. West Ham, they've looked very good so far. They've closed Bournemouth down really well, particularly in the midfield area. And I think the home side, they've been rather restricted to just trying to play long balls up to Jadon Anthony, and they're not really coming off at the moment. So, yeah, it is still goalless, but West Ham are certainly the better team at the moment.
And how are Bournemouth shaping up? New style of football, new man in charge, of course. Are they looking to try and play the ball out, or is it looking a little bit disjointed?
Well, I think they're trying to play it out from defence, but because West Ham have been closing them down so well, they've then just sort of resorted, when they get to the midfield third of the pitch, just to try and lump it up to Jadon Anthony. And you can tell that's not really what they want to do, but they're a bit rabbit in the headlights at the moment. West Ham have started the stronger. So I don't think they're playing the game they necessarily want to. So you've got to give full credit to West Ham for that.
Well, West Ham, of course, with Bowen and the pace that he's got, he's like a little rabbit, isn't he? Like a rabbit chasing? I don't know, is that a rabbit caught in headlights? Not quite sure. Anyway, I'll work on my analogies before I come up with one next. Let's head back down along the south coast, I should say, to the Amex Stadium, where Brighton are taking on Luton Town. The last time that these two sides faced each other was in the Southern Section final of the 2008-2009 Football League Trophy. Slightly a different occasion that they find themselves playing in the Premier League in the opening day of the season today. Richard, how are things shaping up? Are Luton starting to come into this one, or are they still just hanging in there?
Yeah, well, they tried to get a bit of foothold on the game now. It has been a lot of changes since those days, but Kabori particularly, the guy on loan from Man City, playing on the right-hand side, and he looks proper top talent, as you'd expect from that Man City youth academy. He started to get a bit on the ball, and he's trying to get forward, involving with Chong, as they've had a fellow debutant having a bit of possession. Brighton have had another shot from range. Danny Welbeck, he found himself about 25 yards out, drilled it, powerful effort, just skimmed over the top of the crossbar. Kaminski, I think, had it covered, but at the same time, Brighton are looking the more likely at the moment, but Luton just about getting a little bit of possession at the moment now, getting back into the game. 40 minutes gone though, Brighton 0, Luton 0.
So Brighton 0, Fulham 0. Earlier on this afternoon in the Women's World Cup, England booked their place in the semi-finals to take on hosts Australia. Australia beats France, one of the favourites, on penalties. England overcoming Colombia by 2-1. Alyssa Russo with the winning goal there. Those two meet in the semi-final on Wednesday. Earlier on in the Championship, it finished Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 0. And in the lunchtime kickoff, the delayed lunchtime kickoff in the Premier League, it finished Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. A big furore about the ticketing situation. A lot of fans missing the start of that game. I'm sure we'll find out more information about that one throughout the course of the afternoon. There's 4 games in the Premier League kicking off at 3 o'clock. We've got Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Luton, Everton, Fulham and Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace. And that's where we'll head next with our man Ed Dowling reporting on this one. There are plenty of unrest with the Blades fans with their team selection ahead of kickoff. Those nerves and that anger subsided somewhat with their bright opening start to the game. How are things faring now, Ed?
Yeah, it's been a story of quite an even story so far in this game. As you'd expect from Sheffield United, especially coming back up again. You remember when they were managed by Chris Wilder the last time. They're very aggressive, strong in the tackle, and are very direct when they get the ball. And it's a similar story here of Higginbottom's side. We've seen some really crunching challenges flying in. I've just seen Elton Edward flash a shot just wide of the post there. And some good stuff being played from a Palace perspective. Once they get on the ball, especially the final third, you can see the difference in quality. Eze has been running rings around the defenders so far. But we've just seen a really good chance, actually, from Elton Edward, just running through there, and the shot's well blocked. But again, it's kind of playing out how you'd imagine. Palace with the quality, Sheffield United with the grit and the hard work. But let's see which one pays off first. To be honest, Dean, I imagine it probably would be Palace given their quality. But about 14 minutes gone here, still 0-0.
Both teams looking for the breakthrough at Bramley, looking for the breakthrough in all 4 of our Premier League games that kicked off about quarter of an hour ago. Let's talk and shift gears very, very slightly to Germany, where, of course, the big news coming out of the Bundesliga is champions Bayern Munich securing the signing of Harry Kane. The big question on everybody's lips is, will Harry Kane be starting this afternoon, or at least make the bench? Of course, his Tottenham fan, boyhood Tottenham fan, played for the club, coming up through the youth team, played for them for 12 years, their club top scorer, never won a trophy. Could he win a trophy in his very first outing for his new club? Well, we will find out that information and get it to you as soon as we can. We'll go from one Kane to another. Our very own Kane Wears, who's covering the game between Everton and Fulham. It's been a lively start. Everton and Fulham both having chances. It sounds like a fun one to watch. Kane, is it still end-to-end stuff?
Yeah, both sides are still going for it, even though we're 15 minutes in. And Fulham have just had a free kick on the left-hand side after what really could be a dangerous tackle, but no card was brandished by the referee. Balls came in, it's just been cleared by Everton. And again, I think it's worth saying that Neil Maupay really has started the game well for Everton up front. He's held the ball well in the absence of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But yeah, it's still end-to-end. Both teams getting chances, but still Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Neil Maupay is a bit of a forgotten man at Goodison Park. He was a big signing from Brighton at the time. They were gutted to lose him, remember. Has it been 2 years since he's been at Goodison Park now? You kind of forget how long he's been there, but maybe this injury is his opening.
Yeah, I think that's a massive opportunity for him today. He really has to, because Everton lacked goals last season and put them in a position of really being down the bottom of the league, and when they had big chances they weren't taken. So I think it's a real opportunity with Maupay to be able to utilise this with Calvert-Lewin, and with Sean Dyche saying before the game that Calvert-Lewin was still some time away and still being built up after his injury, and making sure he's match fit. So it's a real opportunity for Maupay to be able to take today. And he's had already a big chance in the game getting 1v1 with the goalkeeper. So hopefully for him, he can take his chance and really make sure that even when Calvert-Lewin comes back, that's his position.
Well, we shall see. We'll wait and see with that one. Still Everton 0, Fulham 0 in a lively game at Goodison Park. There's been a big chance at the game down at the Vitality Stadium between Bournemouth and West Ham United. Last we heard, West Ham United were on top, pushing it, making it difficult for Bournemouth to play out. How's the chance gone?
It's fallen to West Ham. They've continued their dominance, but it was quite an unlikely suspect who got the chance. It was Thomas Souček. It was a lovely through ball played by Pablo Fornals. He's probably been the standout player this afternoon so far, and he played it inside to Souček inside the box, and his left-footed effort hit the post, and Michail Antonio, he was raising him, but the ball rebounded off the post the wrong way. If it went the correct way, then it would have been an easy tap-in from 1 yard out for Michail Antonio. So I would not be surprised if we see a goal from West Ham in the next few minutes, but it is still Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
So West Ham piling the pressure on Bournemouth. We're about 20 minutes gone in our 3 p.m. kickoffs in the Premier League. I think it's time to get the latest in-play odds from NairaBet, and giving us those odds as our very own John Kane. John, how are we doing?
The latest in-play betting odds from NairaBet.
Yes, the latest odds from NairaBet website. Of course, all the prices are subject to change, as you're aware, and if you've been listening for our reporters, the games are still 0-0 all across the board in the Premier League. About 20 minutes gone in each one of them. The latest odds between Everton and Fulham. Everton has just gone down to 2.40. The draw is 3.0, and away win for Fulham at the moment is just gone up to 3.40. As for Brighton and Luton, again still 0-0. Brighton are firm favourites for this. They're 1.36 for the win. It's just gone down to 5.0 for the draw, and it's just gone up for Luton, 9.50. Bournemouth, West Ham again 0-0 across the board. Bournemouth are 3.0 for the win. The draw is 3.40, and West Ham has just gone down to 2.40. I'm sure we got to add down to see why West Ham odds have gone down. And finally in the Premier League, Sheffield United and Palace. Sheffield United just gone up to 4.00. The draw is 2.88, and Palace to win away from home is 2.25. And of course, all these prices from NairaBet, and they're all subject to change. Dean.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, John. The latest odds from NairaBet with our very own John Kane. And we are back to Kane Wears, who is going to run out of breath at this stage at Goodison Park. Everton versus Fulham. Chances at both ends.
Yeah, you would think this is a training game or a pre-season friendly, the way this is going. It's good pressure from Neil Maupay, who we just spoke about previously, who forces a mistake from Diop and Lukic, who forced to knock the ball behind for an Everton corner. It's launched in deep by Iwobi, and Leno just gets fingertips to it, but just then diverts it off the head of Keane, and it nearly goes in. Fulham, have done well to get through the opening 15 minutes and have tried to in spells quieten the home crowd down. But then again, Onana gets the ball and releases Nigerian international Alex Iwobi through. And again, a great save by Bert Leno, who deflects the ball wide for another corner. These attacking set pieces just keep coming and coming again, as Gay is unable to get a shot away from the edge of the box. And then again from that, Neil Maupay receives the ball as well, and his shot then is deflected wide for a corner. Honestly, it's so end-to-end this, and it's just chances galore. You would think this is a training game of some sort. Both teams are just going for it. Clearly, hopefully it stays like this for the rest of the game, but somehow 22 minutes in, it is somehow Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Well, unbelievably, still 0-0 there. It's still 0-0 at the Amex Stadium between Brighton and Luton, but it nearly wasn't. Richard, tell us what happened.
Well, we've had chances here. It's still all Brighton at the moment, and it's Pascal Gross who's running the show for Brighton this afternoon. We found as Luton are desperately defending for their lives at the moment. James Miller, interesting enough, has swapped positions with Gross, and he's moved back into a right-back position as Gross has kind of gone in the middle, but he's interchanging with Solly March on that right-hand side. It's Gross who's found the ball, and he's picked out Danny Welbeck, who's run into the lines. Welbeck's cut inside, and he's got João Pedro just outside him. He ignores him, shoots. It's gone wide. João Pedro's giving him the daggers at the moment. He's not a happy man. Brighton should really be ahead at the moment, but as it stands, 24 minutes on the clock. Brighton 0, Luton 0.
So still 0-0 there. The ball was in the back of the net at Bramall Lane, the game between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace, but it's been ruled out. Ed, what happened?
It has indeed. It was Joachim Andersen pulled up around 35 yards out, let fly, and Absolutely incredible shot. Flying into the top right corner, and Fotheringham got his hand to it. But as the ball was palmed out from Fotheringham, Ayew was running in behind and he just heads it into an open net. But the flag did immediately go up. There was no real sort of question whether he was offside or not. And I think Ayew knew that. But a really cracking strike from Anderson. Didn't know that he had that in his locker, Dean. But still 0-0 here at Bramall Lane.
Well, still 0-0. Rockets from Anderson, but the goal ruled out. And you are listening to Football Live.
Coming up tomorrow on Football Live with Barry Swain. Join us live and exclusive from 2:30 until 6:30, including Chelsea, Liverpool, Premier League action. Football Live will be around the ground chasing the goals.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
If you're betting on sports this week, why not make your money go further? Sign up to NairaBet for 11 days of risk-free betting. If your bet loses, you will get your stake back as a free bet up to 2,000 Naira. All you need to do is register a new account with NairaBet today and qualify to get up to 22,000 Naira in free bets. Visit www.nairabet.com/bonus for more information. General and free bet terms apply. Must be over 18. Must be KYC approved. Must place a qualifying bet. Bets must include football, tennis or basketball markets. Welcome offer only available until Thursday, 31st of August. Please gamble responsibly.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, BrilaSports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Around the grounds, chasing the goals.
A goal that is going to blow open the title race in the Bundesliga.
Well, this wasn't supposed to happen.
It's been an unbelievable day here on Football Live.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. With Dean Kilford.
That's right, you are listening to Football Live, and we're going to head straight back to Goodison Park, where chance after chance after chance is coming. Kane Wears is here to tell us all about it, but still no goals.
Yeah, Fulham are really struggling to build any momentum here with Paulinho and Pereira clearly being missed in midfield, and Raul Jimenez dropping too deep, and it means they're not keeping the ball, and 2 turnovers in possession where Alex Iwobi's broke into the box and looks to bend the ball into the bottom right-hand corner, only to see his effort deflected wide off Diop for another Everton corner. Another chance with Nigerian international Alex Iwobi threatening again, darting inside from the left-hand side before looking to cut a shot into the bottom left-hand corner, and it narrowly drops wide of Bert Leno's right-hand post. So unlucky, and somehow 30 minutes played in this game, and it's somehow Everton 0, Fulham 0.
It's still Everton 0, Fulham 0, and it's still 0-0 down on the south coast between Brighton Hove Albion and Luton Town. Richard Bond is there covering that one for us. Last we heard it was all Brighton, but that's no longer the case, is it, Richard?
Well, it has been all Brighton for most of the game. They've had 76% possession throughout this one, but Luton, they set up with 2 men up top, and they're sticking with that, and it only takes one chance, and they've just had a chance recently now, and they came so close to opening the scoring, and it was a lovely little move. Brighton, they seem to be missing Caicedo at that midfield. They're not really having that sort of play off the ball where they're holding on to breaking down those attacks very quickly. And Luton managed to get themselves forward with Adebayo. First time I've really seen him going down to the left-hand side. He's put a ball into the box, and Mpanzu, if he had scored, that would have been a great story, really. We talked about 5 seasons gone all the way through from the Football League. His header, though, just wide of the post. Brighton have about 8 or 9 shots at the moment. They do look comfortable at times, but they have to be aware of that counter-attack from Luton. Yeah, it's still half an hour gone. Brighton 0, Luton 0.
So still 0-0 as it is in all 4 Premier League games taking place right now. The game that kicked off at 1 o'clock this afternoon finished Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. In the Championship, it finished Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 0. And in the Women's World Cup, Australia beat France on penalties, and then England beat Colombia by 2-1 to set up a semi-final between the hosts and one of the favourites. It'll be an interesting one. England versus Australia. The Ashes moves into the World Cup football arena. We'll see how that plays out in midweek. Meanwhile, let's go back to the Premier League and the game. It's Bramall Lane, but the game. Yeah, we'll go to the game at Bramall Lane. Why not? Between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Ed Dowling is there covering that one for us. Last we heard, there was a goal ruled out for Crystal Palace. How have Sheffield United responded?
Pretty well, actually, to be honest, Dean. We've just seen a good corner routine worked by Sheffield United, where George Baldock found himself completely free at the near post, but just couldn't get his header on target, and you can see he was very frustrated with himself there. Just seen a shot from outside the area from Sheikh Doucouré, which like a low bottom left sort of drive that Foden saves quite well. He's had a good game, actually, the Sheffield United goalkeeper, but in terms of really good chances, well, we've only really seen one, and it was offside. So not loads of quality so far, but both teams pushing for an opening goal here. It's been an even contest, which is good, but about half an hour played, still goalless here at Bramall Lane.
So still no. We'll go now to the south coast, and Jackson Cole, he's been waiting to tell us what's been going on in the game between Bournemouth and West Ham United. West Ham United thoroughly on top last we heard. Is that still the same, Jackson?
Yeah, more or less, Dean, but still only one major chance this afternoon. It was in the 15th minute, fell to Thomas Souček. His left-footed effort hit the post and didn't quite fall to Michail Antonio on the rebound. And there was a little half chance a few minutes later for Souček, who only got 2 Premier League goals last season, by the way. It was a corner swung in from the right by Jarrod Bowen, and Souček did beat the Bournemouth goalkeeper Neto to the header, but he didn't get the required contact on the ball. I mean, as for the home side, their chances have been, well, non-existent, really. David Brooks has had a couple of shots on goal. One of them was a very, very comfortable save for Alphonse Areola. But yeah, still the same thing. West Ham are playing much better than their opponents. But the only thing that really matters is the scoreline, and that's where the teams aren't even. It's Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
Still goalless there, goalless as it is in all 4 of the Premier League 3 o'clock kickoffs. Let's just head to the Championship and run through the latest scores there. Earlier, of course, Coventry City beat Middlesbrough 3-0. Currently, it's Birmingham City 0, Leeds United 0, Cardiff 0, QPR 0, Huddersfield 0, Leicester City 0. It's Hull City 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Ipswich Town are a goal to the good against Stoke City, Millwall 0, Bristol City 0. It's Preston North End 1, Sunderland 0. It's Rotherham. In fact, Sunderland have just scored in that game to level things. It's Preston 1, Sunderland 1 there. Rotherham 1, Blackburn 0. And here's the game to be at It's St Mary's. It's Southampton 2, Norwich City 2. Big game there in the early stages of the Championship season. It's Watford 0, Plymouth 0, and West Bromwich Albion 1, Swansea City 0. There's also been a goal in the game between Cardiff and QPR. QPR have just taken the lead there in that game. So that brings you bang up to date with the games in the Championship. Let's head back to the Premier League, where there hasn't been a chance for the first time, but there has been a card in the game between Everton and Fulham. Kane Wears is here to tell us all about it.
Yeah, Everton fans are furious with referee Stuart Atwell after he plays some advantage rather than awarding the home side a free kick in a dangerous position. But then seconds later, Williams booked a rash challenge on James Garner, who's still been down really and was down for a number of minutes. Replays suggest that Williams really a lucky boy, and we've certainly seen red cards produced for similar tackles in the past. So it's really hotting up now. Big chances even coming in from Decore, who chested down for Neil Maupay, yards from the goal line, but still end-to-end, tackles flying in. Very nice to see this in the first game of the season, but still, Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Meanwhile, elsewhere, there's been a goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And the goal has come down at the South Coast in the game between Brighton Hove Albion and Luton Town. And we will get you an update on that one as soon as we can. Joining our reporter there, Richard Bonds. Meanwhile, there's been a goal ruled out at Everton in the game between Everton and Fulham, which seems to have had everything except a goal. Brighton Hove Albion, a goal to the goods. I'll bring you the news of that goal scorer. It's Solly March, the hometown hero, plied his trade with Lewis and is now worked his way up through the youth system and become a Premier League star. He's a fan favourite, and he has put the ball in the back of the net to give Brighton Hove Albion a 1-0 lead. So the first goal of the 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Premier League, it's gone to the home team, Brighton Hove Albion. They were on top, they've dominated, and now let's join Richard Bonds to describe it.
And it's a goal for Brighton. And, well, we were thinking they were on top, and this finally came just as I thought Luton were coming back into the match. But it is Solly March, yeah, such a hero last year. He did score quite a few important goals. I was thinking Cairo Matoma's been quite quiet in this game, but he's got that little bit of quality to unlock things as Brighton managed to take the lead. So he's pushed down the left-hand side, Mitoma. He's taken on one, taken on two, floats the ball in, and there's Solly March drifting in the back post to smash home. It's Brighton 1, Luton 0, 35 minutes on the clock.
So Solly March with the goal that's given Brighton the lead. Let's hear about the goal that was ruled out at Goodison Park. We were just with Kane Wiz, who was describing a yellow card, and now we've had a ball in the back of the net, but it's been ruled out. But why so, Kane?
Yeah, there's a long ball that's played in from a free kick, and his land is really just on Bert Leno, and it's judged really by the referee to have been fouled by James Tarkowski, who's just standing inside the box, and the goalkeeper comes over the top of him trying to claim the ball. He doesn't, flaps at it, and it lands to Michael Keane, who fires the ball into an unguarded net. The question would be, did Bert Leno have the ball in his hands? Did Tarkowski jump into Leno? I think for me, he's held his ground and stood there, and I really think that it should be 1-0 to Everton. So, a controversial day as such. The referee Stuart Atwell hasn't had any help or support from VAR on that one, but Tarkowski's had no clue the goalkeeper was coming out to get the ball and has really stood his ground. So somehow it's still 0-0.
We've had everything except a goal at the game at Goodison Park. There's been chances, and they had the ball in the back of the net. Crystal Palace have come close to opening the scoring again. Ed Dowling, I believe.
Yes, really well-worked corner again from Eze, whips it in, and then it's headed on at the near post by Joachim Andersen, and there's Odsonne Edouard just lurking at the back post, but he can't get a shot on target. Poor, actually. He really should be getting it at least on target, if not scoring and putting his side ahead. But in terms of just chances in this game, they have come from set pieces. That's kind of been the key. That's something you'd expect from teams like Palace and like Sheffield United as well, to make the most of those high percentage chances. But nothing so far, although I do sense there might be a goal before half-time. But it's 0-0 here, about 35 minutes gone.
Still 0-0 there, just the one goal in the 3 o'clock Premier League games. That goal has come for Brighton Hove Albion. They currently lead Luton Town by 1-0, but it's been a big chance in the game at the Vitality Stadium between Bournemouth and West Ham United. Last we heard, West Ham were on top, but they still can't find the back of the net.
Yeah, but they have clocked up another opportunity to score again. It was a corner on the right-hand side, swung in by Jared Bowen. It was the defender, Naif Aguerd, who got the flick on. And then it was Kurt Zuma and Mikel Antonio, both on the stretch, just to try and get that crucial touch towards goal. But neither of them could quite get there. And Philip Billing was there to clear the danger away. Just a few seconds ago, there was also a faint penalty appeal. Said Benrahma went down in the box, although I don't think even he really believed that he was tripped over by one of the Bournemouth players. But the home side are living very, very dangerously so far, but it is still Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
Bournemouth just about hanging in that game there. Let's just switch attentions to the Eredivisie and the game between PSV and Utrecht. We have our man Jacob Kollick reporting on this one. How PSV Eindhoven's clear favourites going into this one? How have they started the game?
They've started well. Both teams really pushing for an opener, though. Utrecht are playing a lot better and a lot faster and with a lot more confidence than I expected them to. Perhaps PSV are slightly tired from already having played 2 games this season, but Utrecht are doing well. The ball's heading up towards Duvakis regularly so far. But PSV generally holding on to possession. They're neither side's doing too much at the moment. It feels quite chaotic and frenetic. So hopefully we'll see some more quality as the game gets on. But it's those early season cobwebs that still need to be dusted away.
So still goalless there in the game between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht in the Eredivisie. Meanwhile, there's been another chance in the game down at the Amex Stadium. Brighton currently leading by 1-0. Richard's there to tell us which way this chance has gone.
Well, it's a chance for Luton, and all of a sudden this game's gone end to end after Brighton have taken the lead. Luton have come into themselves, maybe just released the shackles now. They're going to try and play. We've seen Carlton Morris for the first time. He's done well to bully the defence to earn a corner. Then the ball's come in from a resulting corner from, I think it was ball whipped in from the left-hand side. Morris is there, meets the header, and it's a brilliant save down low by Jason Steele. He's just tipped it to one side. Really good save, justifying his selection today over the new signing they brought in. Up the other end then, straight away, Brighton counter. Danny Welbeck picks up possession from a loose pass from the inside the Luton midfield. He drives through, runs about 15 yards towards goal, unleashes a really wicked shot from 20 yards. The pace on that was fantastic. Smashes against the post. It's Brighton are well on top. Luton are still in the game. It's 1-0 at the moment. We've got 3 minutes half time. Brighton 1, Luton 0.
Excellent stuff there down at the Amex Stadium. Let's head back up to the game that has had all the chances, but still no goals. Kane Weir's here to tell us about yet another chance for Everton.
This is an unbelievable game. Everton should be ahead after Decore plays a great ball into Neil Maupay, who gets 1v1 with Bert Leno, who makes a good save. Seconds later, another ball again's played in, but to be fair to Fulham's backline, they've done well to catch Maupay offside. About a minute ago, though, Alex Iwobi picks the ball up on the left-hand side and produces a Gareth Bale-esque moment like against Barcelona. He dribbles past Willian and gets the ball on the other side of Lukic, who actually then runs off the pitch and collects the ball back. Plays a diagonal ball to Onana on the opposite side of the pitch, who hits it first time and it hits Bert Leno and goes out for a corner. Unbelievable play from the Nigerian international Alex Iwobi, who produces a moment that gets every single fan off their feet in the stadium. And somehow it is Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Fulham goal is leading a charmed life. I don't know if they can hold out for the rest of the half, let alone the remaining 50 minutes or so left at that one at Goodison Park. Still Everton 0, Fulham 0. We'll go back to the Eredivisie where there's been huge chances, I believe, Jacob, for PSV Eindhoven.
Yeah, a combination of Bakayoko, Noah Lang and Patrick van Aanholt very nearly saw PSV get the opening goal here. There is so much energy with this team who are basically playing with a front five. The run of Patrick van Aanholt sending a cross into the box, which was deflected and just barely saved. The follow-up then taken by Noah Lang, whose result was also blocked and deflected away. But PSV are showing real intent at the moment. You can see the confidence from the 2 wins they've had so far this season. If they can just match that up with a little bit of composure in the final third and in the box, they will doubtlessly score a goal. It's currently 0-0 at the 13th minute.
So still 0-0 there in the game, the Eredivisie between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. It's still 0-0 at the Vitality Stadium between Bournemouth and West Ham United. Let's see if Bournemouth have somehow managed to find their way into this one, or whether West Ham is still dominant. Jackson Cole is our man there reporting.
Well, yeah, in the final few moments of this first half, we're starting to see a bit of fight from Bournemouth. David Brooks, he had a shot from distance, which was beaten away by Alphonse Areola. It was a good height for the West Ham goalkeeper, but it did go through a crowd, so sometimes those kind of efforts can cause problems. But I'd say this has most certainly been West Ham's half. They've had that good chance from Thomas Souček, then he had that half chance not long after. And then on another day, it would have been either Kurt Zuma or Michail Antonio giving West Ham the lead if they're just a couple of inches taller after that well-worked corner. But it is still Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
So still Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0. The only goal of the 3 o'clock games in the Premier League has come at the Amex Stadium between Brighton and Luton. Brighton leading by a goal to 0, courtesy of that Solly March goal. Earlier on at lunchtime, it finished Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. In the Championship, it finished Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 0. Elsewhere, there's been goals in the game between Cardiff and QPR. It's Cardiff 0, QPR 1. It's Hull City 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Ipswich 1, Stoke City 0, Preston 1, Sunderland 1, Rotherham 1, Blackburn 0, Southampton 2, Norwich City 2, and West Bromwich Albion 1, Swansea City 0. Elsewhere, the games all goalless in the Championship. In the Eredivisie, it's still PSV Eindhoven 0, Utrecht 0 in our featured game. And earlier on in the Women's World Cup, Australia beat France 7-6 on penalties to progress to the semi-finals, where they'll take on England, who won by 2-1, beating Colombia women in a bruising encounter, and that semi-final will take place on Wednesday. Meanwhile, let's catch up with what's going on in the game up at Bramall Lane between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace firmly on top last we heard. Ed Dowling is there. Have Sheffield United got themselves back into this game?
Well, they've just managed to produce a fairly decent long shot, actually, which was well saved, to be honest, by Sam Johnson. But to be honest, basing on this first half alone, I'd be quite worried if I was a Sheffield United fan at the current state of things. It's been all Palace. It's been played entirely, basically, in the Sheffield United half, and it's just been Palace probing and trying to find an opening. Sheffield United have offered absolutely nothing, to be honest. And if they're up against a better side, well, I think this would be a couple goals up for that particular team. So slightly worrying, and I think you can sense it in the crowd. It's gone a bit quiet, it's gone a bit flat from the Sheffield United faithful. But they need to improve desperately, I think, if they're going to get a win or even a draw out of this game. As for Palace, they keep this up, they will score eventually. But we're approaching the half-time mark now. There shouldn't be too much added time, but it's 0-0 here at Bramall Lane.
So still 0-0 at Bramall Lane. It's still 0-0, a game that has gone to the interval. That game's at Goodison Park between Everton and Fulham. My man, Kane Wiz there. How is this game still goalless? Everton must be kicking themselves walking back to the changing rooms.
Massive chances for Everton in this half, and I think that sums them up and their season last year. Neil Maupay has to score. Again, Iwobi's picked up the ball on the left-hand side instead of great pass into Onana, who's breaking from midfield, who just sets it for Neil Maupay, who has to score and blazes it again into the chest of Bert Leno. Again, another chance. Gay's picked up the ball and played in Patterson, who's running down the right-hand side in place of the injured Seamus Coleman. And again, hits a shot, saved well by Bert Leno. And then Fulham are really just giving themselves so much work to do of trying to play out from the back. And Tim Ream gives the ball away so cheaply. And Decore gets the ball down on the right-hand side and just clips the ball into Mope's chest. And he's not really under much pressure, but the touch from his chest just then lands into Bert Leno, who really has to take his chance. And it's another half of chances gone missing for Everton. The atmosphere is bouncing here at Goodison Park, and Leno's been the busiest of the two goalkeepers, with Neil Mope on a number of occasions really having chances, if that's from passes in from Decore or others in the midfield. But Everton thought they took the lead when Michael Keane swept the ball home, but questionably Stuart Atwell was deemed it to have been a foul by James Tarkowski in the build-up, but somehow is Everton 0, Fulham 0.
Okay, we spoke just for Fulham. I mean, they've looked a bit out of sorts today. We said about Raul Jimenez, who's taken the place of Alexander Mitrovic this afternoon. Has he had any sniff this afternoon?
No, not really. I think Fulham's frustration is you've got Wilson and you've got Willian, who are high and wide in a front three. And Jimenez is dropping too deep to get the ball, with the frustration of nothing creating. And ultimately, they're having too many turnovers, and Everton are picking the ball up and being so direct and getting at the Fulham back line. And Jimenez isn't really having much of a chance.
And from Everton's point of view, it's got to be more of the same in the second half. Surely no changes needed by Sean Dyche.
No changes will be needed here. Everton look really good. Really good, to be fair, with loads of pace and power, not being so direct. Something you probably wouldn't think in terms of a Sean Dyche team being direct along the floor. Normally it would be a bit aerially, but actually they've got on the ball and really got at that Fulham back line, and somehow it's 0-0. But Everton need to take their chances if they want to stay in the league and not be in a relegation fight.
Absolutely. Well, it's still half-time score 0-0 there. Elsewhere in the Premier League, it's now half-time in all of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. It's Bournemouth 0, West Ham United 0, it's Brighton Hove Albion 1, Luton Town 0, and Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 0. It's time to head back to the studio in Brunner FM and to our host, Femi. Welcome back, gentlemen. Over to you.
This is a commercial break exclusive to Nigeria and Africa alone. But don't worry, Football Live will be back very shortly.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
take Breela anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Breela with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Breela app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Breela football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brilla FM, Brilla.net, BrillaSports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brilla, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
This is Football Live.
And you could not have scripted this.
It's crazy, absolutely insane. Oh my dearie me. I don't want to laugh or cry.
It's a show that's packed to the brim.
Oh my word, what is going on here?
An unbelievable day here on Football Live.
Means there's action everywhere you look. Great entertainment.
That's fantastic.
Wow, just wow.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Breela FM.
You are listening to Football Live, powered by NairaBet, with Dean Kilford.
Well, a very warm welcome back to Football Live. It's the opening day of the Premier League season. Already we've seen Arsenal topple Nottingham Forest by 2-1. It's half-time in the 3 o'clock games. We heard about Everton's game against Fulham, where Everton have been fully on top but haven't been able to break down the Fulham rearguard. Let's now head over to the Amex Stadium, where Brighton are taking on Luton Town, where there has been a goal. Solly March with it in the first half. Richard Bond's there to sum up that first half for us.
Yeah, it's 1-0 here at half-time at the Amex. Brighton 1, Luton 0. Solly March's close range headed the difference after Karu Matoma produced a really good moment of magic on the left-hand side to deliver a sumptuous ball into the box. And March was there just to get, as he did last season so many times, another goal after having 8 last year. Brighton have numerous chances to really take this game away from Luton early doors as the visitors look a bit nervy as Brighton have carried on from where they've left off last season. Danny Welbeck in particular has looked lively leading the attack, smashing a shot against Thomas Kaminski's near post from the edge of the area, while João Pedro missed a sitter really early on and really should have put them in front and made this a lot easier. Luton by no means out of this one though, and they've looked dangerous on the counter-attack, particularly through set pieces, with Carlton Morris drawing a splendid save from Jason Steele just before half-time. But they may have to look to tweak their tactics slightly to nullify Brighton's threat if they are to get anything from this one, particularly in the wide areas where, like we've seen, Matoma and Pascal Gross drifting out onto the right-hand side and regularly getting balls into the Luton penalty area. Should be an entertaining second half, though. It's all to play for, as I say. It's only 1 goal in it. It's Brighton 1, Luton 0 at half-time.
Thank you very much, Richard. Let's head along the south coast to the Vitality Stadium where Bournemouth are taking on West Ham United. Goalless at the break, and here to tell us in a bit more detail is Jackson Cole.
Yeah, 0-0 between Bournemouth and West Ham, but the away side, whose last away win in the Premier League actually came at the Vitality Stadium back in April, will feel they should be ahead. The first chance of the game came on 15 minutes and it fell to Czech midfielder Thomas Souček, whose strike came back off the post and didn't quite fall into the path of Mikhail Antonio. And just 20 minutes later, Antonio, as well as defender Kurt Zouma, almost got on the end of Nayev Aguerd's flick-on from a corner, but it was then subsequently cleared away by Philip Billing. Bournemouth, they showed a bit of urgency towards the break, but I'm sure Andoni Iraola will be getting into his players in the dressing room at half-time because they've not shown much guile and fight in this first half. But they are level with their opponents at the interval. It's Bournemouth 0, West Ham 0.
Goalless at the Vitality Stadium, and also goalless at Bramall Lane, where Sheffield United taking on Crystal Palace. They did have the ball in the back of the net, but it was ruled out. Here to bring us up to date with everything that happened in the first half is our very own Ed Dowling.
Yes, Dean, it was a first half of quite low quality, if I'm being truthful. The one real flashpoint in the game came when Joachim Andersen let fly a really good strike from about 35 yards out that stung the gloves of Wes Foderingham in between sticks. The ball came out and there was Ayew to head the ball into an empty net, but of course the flag immediately went up and there wasn't really the lingering sense that that was going to count as a goal to Crystal Palace. In terms of general possession and chances, it really has gone to the away side so far. Eberechi Eze unlocking the Sheffield United defence a few times with some really smart play, but ultimately yielding nothing for the away side. As for Sheffield United, a good chance from a corner for George Baldock is really all they can say in terms of attacking chances. The home side really must improve if they're going to score a goal or get anything out of this game. As for Crystal Palace, they keep going in this manner. I imagine they'll break through eventually, and when they do, Sheffield United will have to change up their game. But as the first 45 minutes goes, I've seen better in terms of quality, but it's still engaging nonetheless. 45 minutes gone here at half-time. It's 0-0, Sheffield United and Crystal Palace.
So goalless there. That brings you up to date with the half-time reports. Let's bring you up to date with the latest NairaBet odds.
The latest in-play betting odds from NairaBet.
Our very own John Kane. What are the latest odds for us?
Yes, thank you, Dean. The latest odds, as you've seen so far, is only 1 goal, and that's in the game between Brighton and Luton. As you expect, Brighton's odds are 1.13. Firm favourites even before the game started, but now they are firm favourites even more so. The draw is 8.0, so if you fancy Luton nicking a point, 8.0 is good odds. However, it's just gone up for a Luton away win. That's to 29.0 if you fancy a comeback. It's 0-0 in the rest of the 3 games at half-time. Everton, Fulham. Everton are 2.38. It's gone down to 2.38. It's gone down also for the draw, 2.40. And it's gone up for a Fulham away win to 4.75. Bournemouth, West Ham, it's just gone down to, in fact, it's just gone up again to Bournemouth to 3.30 for a home win. The draw is 2.50. and it's gone up for West Ham to 3.0. I think the book is in that one expecting a draw, because the draw has gone down to 2.50. And finally, Sheffield United against Palace, again 0-0. Sheffield United has gone up to 5.0. It's very good odds for a home team. 2.38 is for the draw, and finally 2.40 for a Palace away win. Of course, all these prices are from NairaBet, and they're all subject to change.
Thanks very much, as always, John, for bringing us up to date with the latest NairaBet odds in our 4 Premier League games. As you'd expect, tight affairs. No teams wanting to give anything away in the early stages of the season. They're going to get off on the front foot. Let's just switch gears and head back to the Eredivisie, where there's a big game taking place between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. And since we've been away, there's been plenty of chances. Isn't that right, Jacob Collig?
You are right. It's still 0-0, but I have to say I'm out of breath just watching this game. It is end-to-end action, each side enjoying a number of chances. Last season's joint top goal scorer, De Vikas, leading the line for Utrecht. He's not been involved too much, but he's had 2 fantastic chances at the few moments he's had an opportunity. Most recently, this scissor kick with the ball just going wide. Previously to that, he just barely missed the goal. When there was an opportunity perhaps for him to square the ball and get Utrecht off the mark. On the other side, I mean, PSV's attacking momentum has been non-stop. All of their players are constantly running forward. The moment they get on the ball, they're all just pouring forward. Noah Lang, Bakayoko, Luc de Jong, all of them absolutely playing fantastically. Hopefully this energy will keep up, and hopefully we'll see a goal soon. But at the moment, it's still PSV 0, Utrecht 0.
Still 0-0 there. Let's just bring you bang up to date with the scores in the Championship. The second half's just kicking off in several of the games there. Earlier on at lunchtime, it finished Coventry City 3, Middlesbrough 0. It's Birmingham 0, Leeds United 0, Cardiff 0, QPR 1, Huddersfield 0, Leicester City 0, Hull City 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1, Ipswich 1, Stoke City 0, Millwall 0, Bristol City 0, Preston North End 1, Sunderland 1, Rotherham 1, Blackburn 0, Southampton 2, Norwich City 3, and what seems a thriller down at St Mary's. Watford 0, Plymouth 0, and West Bromwich Albion 1, Swansea City 0. In the Liga, it's just kicked off in the early stages between Marseille and Reims. It's 0-0 there. And as you heard in the Eredivisie, it's goalless between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. There has been a goal in the Liga, the game featuring Real Sociedad and Girona. It kicked off just a few minutes ago, and Real Sociedad are already a goal to the good. It's Real Sociedad 1, Girona 0. That brings you up to date with all the scores elsewhere. Let's head back to our featured games in the Premier League, and we'll start at the game at Goodison Park. They had all the chances with no goals, but we've had a change at the interval, and it's unsurprisingly come for the visitors. Kane Wears, who has come on?
Yeah, Fulham have managed just one shot and none on target in that first half, only having 4 touches inside Everton's penalty area, despite the Cottagers having about 70% possession. So, understandably, Marco Silva could not have been happy with his team's display in that first half. Now, it would have been not a surprise to see maybe Mitrovic or Pereira come on, but actually the change for Fulham is Willian coming off and Bobby De Cordova-Reid coming on. So, an interesting change, because Willian was probably the only bright spark for Fulham. But it's still 0-0 as Everton get the second half underway.
So still goalless there. The one Premier League game with a goal is at the Amex Stadium. Brighton were leading by a goal. So in fact, we'll just break away there because there's been another goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's come in the game between Bournemouth and West Ham United. And the goal has gone West Ham United's way. It's Bournemouth 0, West Ham United 1. And it's Jared Bowen who has scored that goal. We'll go straight over to bring you a report of the action with our reporter Jackson Cole as soon as we can. Meanwhile, at the game at Bramall Lane, there's been yet another goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's the visitors who have gone in front. It's Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. Edward with the goal for the visitors. We will join Ed Dowling shortly there to get you an update on that goal. So it's currently West Ham United leading Bournemouth by a goal to 0 down at the Vitality Stadium. It's Brighton Hove Albion 1, Luton 0, Everton 0, Fulham 0, and Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. Let's catch up with the game at the Amex Stadium. It's Brighton Hove Albion who are a goal to the goods. It's Sonny March with that goal. How have Luton started this second half? Have they looked like getting a way back into this one, Richard?
Well, it's been more the same really from Brighton as such. Luton still really not getting to touch with the ball. You know, Brighton have had 72% possession in this game, 17 shots, so they look in the more dominant team. We've had one effort of note really to say João Pedro trying to get himself in the game. He's on his debut, drifting from the right hand side. He curled an effort towards goal, but it went wide. But yeah, Luton are going to have to probably change their ways here, I think, if they're going to come back into this room. But as of yet, it's Brighton 1, Luton 0, and there's 52 minutes on the clock.
Thanks very much for that, Richard. Well, let's head over to the game between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace, where Palace have taken the lead.
Yes, really good goal here from Crystal Palace, and I thought this was coming, to be honest. It's Jordan Ayew who just stands the ball up on the right wing. He decides what he wants to do. He cuts down the wing, fires the ball across the goal, and Edouard, with some really good strikers play, just slots it in at the back post. Really well worked attacking play, and that has been the difference, to be honest, Dean, in terms of quality. The ability to do that, to beat your man, put a really good ball in, and just finish calmly at the back post. 1-0 to Palace, well deserved here at Bramall Lane.
So Palace on top there, and another goal for a away team was West Ham United. They lead at Bournemouth. Let's head over to Jackson Cole to describe that goal for us.
Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1. The goal scored by Jarrod Bowen. What a goal it was. A lovely curling effort from the edge of the box. Bournemouth goalkeeper Neto had absolutely no chance. It came after Joe Rothwell was dispossessed about 30 yards away from goal. That was not great for the home side, but it was a superb moment of quality from Bowen, who just collected the ball, cut inside, and then curled it beautifully into the top right-hand corner of the net. Bowen, he was, of course, the hero in the Europa Conference League final, scoring the last-minute winner there. He only got 6 goals in the Premier League last season. He's already got 1 for this season. Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1.
So West Ham United leading at Bournemouth by a goal to 0. Just earlier on, the lunchtime kickoff finished Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. So as it stands, Manchester City top of the table on goal difference. Arsenal in second place. The top 2 from last season, currently the top 2, but of course they're the only 2 games that have finished so far. Let's just bring you up to date with the goal in League One in France. Marseille taking on Reims. It's the visitors that have taken the lead there in that one. It's Junior Ito with the goal there for Reims, giving the visitors a shock lead there. We will now join game over in the Eredivisie, where Jacob Kollik is covering the game between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. And I believe there's been an unfortunate injury in that game.
Yeah, at the moment, Utrecht's playing with 10 men. Taylor Booth went down a few minutes ago with what looked like a calf injury. Sort of bringing what was potentially a necessary break for many of the players who I can imagine have been running near constantly for 40 minutes. So perhaps an opportunity for PSV and Utrecht to take a break. But obviously the state of Taylor Booth is to be seen. So for the time being, still 0-0. The energy from the beginning of the game has kind of come to a bit of a slow.
Still 0 there in the game to PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. Thank you very much for that, Jacob. Let's head back down to the Amex Stadium, where Brighton Hove Albion currently lead Luton by a goal to 0. Brighton, are they on top in the second half, Richard?
Oh, very much so. Brighton nearly doubled their lead a second ago, and it was that man Pascal Gross who's been having such a good game up on that right-hand side. He's played a nice little bit of interplay with Solly March. and a cute angle. He smashed the shot. It's gone against the post. Kaminski's there just to scramble the ball away. He's only found Lewis Dunk, though. He's trying to get the ball back in the box. There's a bit of pinball going on, but eventually Luton get the ball away. It's getting very close to a second goal here. Luton hanging on for dear life at the moment. We're only 10 minutes into the second half, though. Long way to go. Brighton 1, Luton 0.
So Brighton leading by a goal to 0, as are their rivals Crystal Palace, who are in action away at Sheffield United. How have Sheffield United responded to conceding that early second half goal? Ed Dowling.
Oh, not too well, I have to say. I think Palace are really pushing for that second goal. We've just seen Ibarreche Eze brought down about 25 yards out with a really dangerous free kick that he's currently standing over right now. And they're really piling on the pressure, Palace. I have to say, Sheffield United, they just don't have a focal point. You know, the three forwards, if you like, Ben Osborne, I've just not seen anything from them to suggest they're going to score goals this season, especially in this game. And Palace, you know, we've got Edouard, Eze, their Ayew playing really well, pressing the Sheffield United defenders who are passing it out for throw-ins, really. Roy Hodgson's got his guys playing very well at the moment, I have to say. But if I had to call a goal, in the next sort of 10-15 minutes, it's definitely going to the away side as it stands. But 55 minutes gone, it's 1-0 here to Palace.
So Ed, we were talking before the game about the Sheffield United fans not happy with the team selection. Maybe that anger is justified now as this performance has panned out.
Totally. I think it's a case of the ownership there. I can't believe they've let certain players go, like Sunderberg not being there. There's no ball progression in the midfield, and he's at Burnley, a team they came up with. It is quite baffling. And then Iliman Ndiaye, who I remember watching last year in the Carabao Cup, was a really fabulous player. And you get, players like that are very difficult to replace, but they've got nothing so far. There's absolutely nothing going forward. Pretty good defensively, pretty resolute, but they're not going to stay in the division if it continues like this, I have to say.
Well, something needs to change and quickly for Sheffield United if they're to find a way back into this one. So half the score there, Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. Let's head back to the game at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth taking West Ham United. Bowen's goal just after half-time, separating the two teams. How have Bournemouth responded to that concession of a goal, Jackson?
Well, Bournemouth have certainly woken up now. Well, in this second half, Dominic Solanke just a couple of minutes ago had a really good chance. His cheeky shot trying to beat Areola at the near post almost snuck in, but the West Ham goalkeeper was equal to it. In fact, Bowen's splendid goal came seconds after a volley by David Brooks on the edge of the West Ham box, was tipped over the bar by Areola. So you could say the West Ham goal has come against the run of play in the second half, but on the balance of play overall, it's most certainly a deserved lead for the Hammers. It's Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1.
So still West Ham leading at the Vitality Stadium by a goal to 0. Let's just bring you down to the Championship momentarily in the game between Rotherham and Blackburn. Last we read out, it was Rotherham 1, Blackburn 0. There's been a second goal in that game, and it's gone to Rotherham, and it's gone to Onyedinma, our very own, who is lighting up the league for Rotherham in the early stage of this one, but he's compounded issues by 2 minutes later, getting a second yellow card and getting sent off. So an eventful 3 minutes for him. He was booked, I believe, for taking his shirt off and then for remonstrating the decision. That's what I've just reading. So a very, very eventful 3 minutes there for Onyedinma for Rotherham, but they currently lead by 2-0 over Blackburn Rovers in the Championship. Let's head back to the Premier League and the game at Goodison Park, the only game without a goal. Everton taking on Fulham. Everton completely on top in that first half, but plenty of chances for both teams. Maybe not so many chances, but there's been another card, I believe, Kane.
Yeah, another card, and James Tarkowski does well not to get a red card, really, in terms of the challenge. Kenny Tete breaks away, and the Fulham fullbacks really away into the Everton half, and it's just brought down. Not really a nice tackle, and gives away a free kick. Looks like Fulham are going to make a couple of changes. Fulham have started to grow in this half. Fulham had a corner and work the ball short to Reed, whose cross is headed out of the air by Ashley Young and concedes another corner. From that corner, they're gifted another chance, but Patterson really nearly scores an own goal, heading his ball back to Jordan Pickford. And it just then is saved by Jordan Pickford, goes out for another corner. The next corner's half clear, drops a Lukic on the edge of the box, who hits a volley, and it just goes wide. So Fulham are growing into the game now. Everton still haven't settled, but yeah, it's about 60 minutes in, and it's still Everton 0, Fulham 0.
So still Everton 0, Fulham 0. Earlier on in the Premier League, the lunchtime game finished Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Currently in the 3 o'clock kickoffs, it's Bournemouth 0, West Ham United 1, it's Brighton Hove Albion 1, Luton Town 0. As you just heard, it's Everton 0, Fulham 0, and it's Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. Later on this evening, Newcastle take on Aston Villa. And then there's 2 big games we'll be covering on Football Live. Tomorrow we have coverage of Brentford versus Tottenham Hotspur, and then the big game at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea and Liverpool. But we break away because there's been a goal.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's come in the Eredivisie in the game we're featuring between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. And it's been scored by Noah Lang. So PSV Eindhoven have scored in stoppage time in that one to give them the lead over Utrecht. We will join Jacob Collick as soon as we can to give you more details on that goal. Meanwhile, let's head back to Goodison Park, where Fulham are taking on Everton, currently goalless in that game, but the away team are starting to create some chances of their own.
Yeah, Fulham are really now getting into this game, and Jimenez goes agonisingly close to his first Fulham goal. Harry Wilson hits the byline and lifts a cross into the area where Jimenez is waiting to volley towards goal. His strike clips the inside of Pickford's right-hand post and bounces out before Deco Reed shoots over the crossbar from the rebound. That's actually Jimenez's final touch of the game, as Alexander Mitrovic now enters the fray along with Andreas Pereira swapping for Tom Kearney. So 2 big subs coming on for Fulham, who now are looking like they're starting to get into the game. So could have been a goal, and it could have been the first goal for Jimenez with his final touch of the game, but on comes Mitrovic and Pereira, still 0-0.
Still goalless at Goodison Park, but there was a goal, of course, in the game between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht in the Eredivisie. Let's head over to Jacob Collick, who can describe the action.
Yep, the record signing for PSV has opened his Eredivisie account. A quick free kick was taken in the centre of the area, which found Ibrahim Sangare, who passed the ball quickly out wide to an unmarked Noah Lang, who dribbled, turned the ball, and hammered it into the roof of the net. It was utterly unstoppable and is honestly warranted for PSV, who have been playing fantastically and just deserve the goal. And a goal of that standard for Noah Lang is just a great way for him to start his season and for PSV to start their league campaign. So as we enter into the last few minutes of the first half, it is PSV 1, Utrecht 0.
So PSV Eindhoven with the lead there in the Eredivisie, just approaching half-time in that game. We're actually in the 6th minute of stoppage time in that one. Let's head back to the Premier League and the game between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Ed Dowling is there. The home fans voicing their discontent at what's going on in front of them.
They are. It's not really been good enough. We've seen a good chance actually just now. The Sheffield United forward, I believe it was a ball block actually from the fence, just running in behind, and a really good checker from Anderson managed to prevent a chance happening there, but there's just been nothing so far. And again, in terms of the quality, it's a real pleasure to watch Eberechi as they play football. On the edge of the box, he's just untouchable sometimes with the Sheffield United defence. So really, it's been a case of real counter-attacking football from Sheffield United, but even then, they're not getting that far up the field. So something has to change. The supporters are voicing their discontent, especially as we've just seen Odsonne Edouard be completely free from a free kick to head into the gloves of Fotheringham. Something has to change here, Sheffield United. They need to bring somebody to change something, because right now they're going to lose, and they're going to lose quite badly, I fear, if something doesn't change relatively soon. But we've got 63 minutes on the clock. Still 1-0 to Palace here at Bramble Lane.
So still 1-0 to the visitors there. It was 1-0 to the home team, Brighton Hove Albion, down at the Amex Stadium, where there's been a penalty appeal turned down, I believe, Richard Bonds.
Yes, and it was for Brighton. They could have extended their lead if they'd had a penalty on there, but Solly March was found a lovely bit of play with Pascal Gross. March dances his way into the box, and his shot then drew lovely save from Kaminski. The ball came loose. Danny Welbeck's coming in there, showing good feet, and he's been. I'm not sure if he's been caught by Lockyer, and it's one of those. Sometimes you see him given, sometimes you don't. They didn't, and Luton cleared their lines, but seconds later, Luton, I did say about counter-attacking, they gone up the other end, and the dangerous-looking Morris, he had so many goals last year. He found Adebayo at the back post on this counter-attack. He's tried to smash the ball away, but there he is. Jason Steele to claw the ball wide. That's what you need. You need a good keeper in these situations to keep yourselves ahead in games. Brighton, although dominant, Luton nearly equalising. They're 1 up for now. It's Brighton 1, Luton 0, 66 minutes on the clock.
Well, Brighton still a goal to the good there. Elsewhere, Bournemouth 0, West Ham United 1, Everton 0, Fulham 0, and Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1 in the Eredivisie. It's half-time between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. The current score is PSV Eindhoven 1, Utrecht 0, and you are listening to Football Live.
Coming up tomorrow on Football Live with Barry Swain. Join us live and exclusive from 2:30 until 6:30, including Chelsea, Liverpool, Premier League action. Football Live will be around the ground chasing the goals.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Some of the best start from the streets of Africa. This is not just a game. It's a feeling within us. It's expressive. It's a passion. Play for the fun. Play for the thrill. Play responsibly. Proudly African. Bet with the best. Naira Bet.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, BrilaSports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, B-R-I-L-A. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Around the ground, chasing the goals.
A goal that is going to blow open the title race in the Bundesliga.
Well, this wasn't supposed to happen.
It's been an unbelievable day here on Football Live.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
You are listening to Football Live, powered by NairaBet, with Dean Kilford.
That's right, you are listening to Football Live, where we bring you the goals as they happen, and there's been another goal!
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's at the Amex Stadium, where Brighton Hove Albion have doubled their lead against Luton Town. Solly March at the double. In fact, apologies for that one. João Pedro with the goal there to make it 2-0 to the home team from the penalty spots. We'll join Richard Bond very, very shortly to bring us all the details of that goal. In fact, we can head there straight now. Richard Bond live from the Amex Stadium, where it's Brighton Hove Albion 2, Luton Town 0.
Well, yes, we said we could have had a penalty a couple of minutes ago, but they did have one now, and it's the same sort of scenario, really, as Luton really desperately trying to defend. It was João Pedro who started to look really dangerous. He glided into the box after pass, I think it was from Matoma from the left inside, but he's picked the ball up, he's taken on Lockyer, done him for pace, he's brought him down, giving the referee no doubt just to point to the spot. Up he stood then, dusted himself down, João Pedro, smashes the ball into the back of the net, and all of a sudden, a debut goal for the Brazilian. Things are looking good for Brighton. Who needs those players they've just sold? Brighton are back where they were last year. 2-0 up here against Luton. We've got 18 minutes to go to play.
So Brighton 2 goals so good. Let's get that half-time report from the Eredivisie, where PSV Eindhoven are leading Utrecht by a goal to nil. That late goal at the end of the first half has given the home side the lead. Jacob Collick, it's gone pretty much as we expected.
Yeah, I mean, PSV have been by far the better team, though Utrecht did have their fair share of chances, largely coming down through Duvikas, last season's top goal scorer. But PSV, who have been spending most of this half attacking with what felt like a front five, were inevitably going to score at some point. Credit has to go to Utrecht's goalkeeper, Vasilis Barkas, who had been doing fantastically up until that last moment. He'd been smothering chances before anything could really be made of them, and jumping onto the balls that were heading towards Luc de Jong, who has otherwise been pretty quiet this game. Unfortunately, that chance just in extra time at the end there was just too good by Noah Lang. I mean, it was a fantastic goal, which had been following some brilliant thinking and play by the PSV side to just take a free kick quickly and move as quickly as they could to just get that goal. But as we head into half-time, it's PSV 1, Utrecht 0.
There's been another goal in the Premier League.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's come in the only game that didn't have a goal, and it's come not for the home team who've dominated, it's come to the visitors. It's Everton 0, Fulham 1. We'll join Kane Weir momentarily to bring you details of that goal. Until then, let's head over back to the game down at the Vitality Stadium. We'll head to the game at Bramall Lane. Crystal Palace taking on Sheffield United. The home side were struggling to get into this one, but the ball has been in the back of the net again, I believe, Ed Dowling.
Yes, it has, and it was Odsonne Edouard again, and I believe it was Jordan Ayew who played the pass in. I think they've swapped wings, him and Jeffrey Schlupp. And he picked the ball up, Jordan Ayew. He's had a really good game, actually. I think people have criticised his ability before, but he's really shown why. He's been in this Palace side for so long. He's got real ability here. And he picks the ball up on the left side of the box, with the outside of his foot, a trailer, if you like, plays it right to the back post. And there's Odsonne Edouard just to tap home. Very similar to the first goal, actually. But he was about a yard offside, but would have been a really good, well-worked goal if he just stayed onside. But it was immediately disallowed. 73 minutes gone. Still 1-0 to Palace.
So still 1-0 there, despite Crystal Palace having the ball in the back of net 3 times. West Ham United leading at the Vitality Stadium against Bournemouth. Last time we heard Bournemouth were getting back into it. Jackson Cole, is that still the case?
It certainly is, and they were desperately unlucky not to be level a short time ago. It was Joe Rothwell who was slightly at fault for the West Ham goal. His shot crashed against the crossbar with Alphonse Areola beaten all ends up. But yeah, it is still Bournemouth 0, West Ham 1. That Jarrod Bowen goal, all that separates the two sides at the moment.
So still 1-0 there. Let's catch up with the action of the goal at Goodison Park, where the visitors took the lead. Kane Weir is there, and unbelievably, it is the visitors who have scored.
Yeah, you couldn't have wrote this if you were an Everton fan. You'd be gutted with the amount of chances they've had. But Andreas Pereira's fed inside of the box, and he just slides across for fellow substitute Deco-Dova-Reid, who just taps in a simple finish from yards out. It's Fulham's first attempt on target in the whole game, and Everton have completely switched off in this second half. Deco-Dova-Reid's poked Fulham in front. It's 73 minutes played. It's Everton 0, Fulham 1.
There's still 1-0 there. Let's just bring you some team news coming in thick and fast from the late kickoff between Newcastle United and Aston Villa. And Newcastle manager Eddie Howe has handed a Premier League debut to his new signing, Sandro Tonali. The AC Milan midfielder will line up alongside Joe Linton and Guimarães, while Anthony Gordon has been preferred to Harvey Barnes, who has to take a place on the bench. For Aston Villa boss Unai Emery, well, Moussa Diaby is in the starting lineup, but Tielemans and Pau Torres can only make a place on the bench this afternoon, or I should say this evening, by the time that game kicks off. Let's just get a little catch up with the game down at the Amex Stadium. Brighton 2 goals to the good, and some changes have been made from the home team.
Yes, well, Brighton now, but De Hood has gone off now. He's for a standing ovation by his manager, Roberto De Zerbi. He's played outstanding today, and also Solly March has departed off. But interesting one for Brighton. Could this be their next big, Tony Bloom's next project, next big thing that's come on now? Simon Adringa, he's an Ivory Coast international. He's 21 years old. He's come on that right-hand flank. He's been on loan at Noord-Skrilleland last season, and he seemed to do quite well. He's highly rated at the club. So he's come on to play the last sort of 15 minutes here. We'll have a good look at him, see really if he's going to be the next big thing at the club. Luton haven't really come back into this, and they're looking a bit crestfallen after that second goal. They brought a couple of subs on themselves. As I was saying earlier on, Kabore, he started really well, but he seemed to lose Mitoma at parts of this game. He's been subbed, he's gone off, and also there's a change up front with Elijah Adebayo going off, and they brought on the new man Brown up front. So see if they can get back into this one, but it's going to take something really. Brighton are looking comfortable with 12 minutes to play. Brighton 2, Luton 0.
Thank you very much, Richard. They just seem to churn them out, don't they? A conveyor belt of talent down on the south coast for the Seagulls, currently leading Luton Town by 2 goals to 0. Some breaking news just coming out of Tottenham, where, of course, Harry Kane departed the club officially after a long protracted summer move. He's moved to Bayern Munich. Of course, could feature in the German Super Cup this evening and possibly win his first trophy. But Son Heung-min has been named the Spurs captain for the season, which has gone down well with the Tottenham fans that certainly I'm in contact with. So Son Heung-min, the new Tottenham captain for this season after the departure of Harry Kane and, of course, Hugo Lloris, who was their previous club captain. There's been a penalty in the game between Brighton Hove Albion and Luton, a second penalty. Brighton got the first. This one has gone the way of the visitors. Luton Town have a penalty. VAR are just checking that decision, so I will bring you confirmation as soon as I get it. Until then, let's just catch up with the latest odds powered by NairaBet.
The latest in-play betting odds from NairaBet.
Yes, the latest odds from NairaBet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. As you just heard from our presenter, Dean Kilford, Brighton and Luton are suspended due to the penalty shout for Luton. In fact, they have just scored. So it's Brighton 2, Luton 1, but betting is suspended for that game with 10 minutes to go. Everton Fulham, well, it's 1-0 to Fulham away from home. Everton are 17.0 for the win, 4.0 for the draw, and 1.36 for the Fulham away win. So if you think Everton can turn around in the next 10 minutes or so, plus stoppage time, it's 17.0. Bournemouth West Ham, as we heard, is literally all West Ham in that game. As we heard from Ed Dowling, 9 minutes to go. Bournemouth are 34.0 for the win. In fact, it's just got suspended for that game because Bournemouth has scored. So it's Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1. So you'll hear the two jingles twice in a second. And finally, Sheffield United Crystal Palace, before we go for another jingle, is still 1-0 to Palace away from home. It's 51.0 for Sheffield United, 7.50 for the draw, and 1.13 for a Palace away win. Of course, all these prizes from Narrabet and subject to change. And Dean, I think we're ready for a jingle or two.
It's been go, go, go!
The goals, powered by Narrabet.
What a time to head over to John Kane with the Narrabet odds. Let's get straight down to the Amex Stadium where Luton Town have pulled it back against Brighton Hove Albion from the penalty spot. Carlton Morris. Richard, just what happened there?
Well, I said comfortable. That's what happened, and Brighton aren't comfortable anymore. It's they had a penalty. It was a nice ball in from the right hand side, and Lewis Dunker's adjudged to have handballed in the box. After a bit of debate, then they've looked to the fourth official. They've looked on the screen and he's given the penalty. Up has stood Carlton Morris, and Luton, he smashed the ball into the left-hand corner, and Luton have their first Premier League goal. After all this time, the fans absolutely going bananas in that far side. It's game on here, and we've got about 8 minutes to play plus stoppage time, because we had a bit of a delay earlier for a bit of an injury. So game on indeed. Brighton 2, Luton 1.
So 2-1 there, and there's been another goal, but this time along the south coast of the Vitality Stadium.
The goals, powered by Narrabet.
Where Dominic Solanke has given the home side, or put the home side back on level terms. Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1. We'll be over to our reporter down on the south coast, Jackson Cole, momentarily to give you all of the details on that one. So let's just run through the goals and the scores as they are standing at the moment. We'll start with the lunchtime kickoff. It finished Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. It's currently Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1. It's Brighton Hove Albion 2, Luton Town 1, Everton 0, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. So that's give you bang up to date in the Premier League. Let's head down to the Championship. In fact, no, we won't. We'll go straight to Jackson Cole for description of that goal between Bournemouth and West Ham United. Bournemouth deservedly on level terms.
Certainly on the balance of the second half, it's Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1. The goal scored by Dominic Solanke. It was a bit fortuitous, a rather hopeful effort from distance from Antoine Semenyo. It went through a couple of pairs of legs, but full marks to Dominic Solanke. He was alive and ready, and he did brilliantly to go round the West Ham goalkeeper, Alphonse Areola, and then just stuck it in the net from less than 6 yards out. Can Bournemouth find a winner? It's Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1.
So one apiece there. Fulham leading at Goodison Park against the run of play. How have Everton responded, Kane Weirs?
Not very well, to be honest. Everton have gave a debut to Loney Arnaud Damjuna, who's replacing Neil Maupay up front 7 months after he rejected the Toffees to join Tottenham. But a big chances actually came for Fulham, and it's the same combination again for Fulham, who should have put the game to bed, as Wilson plays a little give and go with Kenny Tete on the right before his deep cross is slashed over by Bobby De Cordova-Reid. It was actually a harder chance than the one that it was an easier chance than the one that he'd scored. So really, there's chances coming now for Fulham to put this game to bed. I think the slight worry for Everton is that all 6 of Everton's home games last season, they've won when they haven't conceded a goal. So really, it's going to be a big challenge for Everton to get back into this. But still, Everton 0, Fulham 1.
Meanwhile, at the Amex Stadium, there's been another goal.
The goals, powered by Narrabet.
Luton Town were back in it, but they weren't back in it for very long. Brighton have restored their 2-goal advantage. Adringa with the goal to make it Brighton 3, Luton Town 1. We'll join Richard Bond very, very shortly for all the details of that goal. Meanwhile, let's head back up to Bramall Lane, the game featuring Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Last we heard, Sheffield United was struggling to not even make the barn door, let alone hit it. Have things gone any better for the home team?
Well, they've made a lot of attacking changes. They've taken off a number of defenders, and they are seeming through it. Paul Higginbottom has changed things around, but to be honest, I just don't. They're not there yet. I just don't think this squad's in the right sort of shape for the Premier League at this point in time. I'd say Jordan Ayew, especially from the Crystal Palace perspective, has been excellent. In all the times he's got the ball, he's driven at the defence, isolated defenders, and he's usually beaten them and produced something pretty good. So, as for Sheffield United, look, they've got 10 minutes to make something happen. Stranger things definitely have happened in the Premier League with. They just need one chance, really. But in terms of the likelihood of that, I don't really see it. And we've just seen there's a fire wide there that could have put the game to bed. One Palace goal here and it will be game over. But so far, we've got about 10 minutes left and it's still 1-0 to the visitors here at Bramall Lane.
Well, let's head straight back to Goodison Park, where Everton are taking on Fulham. Chances starting to come thick and fast. Maybe the game's ending as it started, Kane Wears.
Yeah, there's probably about 5 minutes left of normal time, plus some added time when Mitrovic went down a bit injured earlier on. Everton have made a substitute and brought on young centre-forward Lewis Dobbins to come on and replace James Garner, and he's made an impact straight away. And Garner looks to deliver the ball onto the right-hand side, and a good little bit of movement from Dobbins allows him to get a shot away, and it's saved well by Bert Leno. Another chance, Ashley Young crosses the ball from the left and it's met by Nigerian international Alex Iwobi at the far post. But again, Bert Leno gets down to make another vital save. There's probably about 5 minutes left, but there'll be probably a considerate amount of time. Everton 0, Fulham 1.
So still Fulham leading there. Let's hear about that third Brighton goal from Richard Bond.
Yeah, well, Brighton have looked to have sealed this one, and it's that man, Simon Adingo, who's just come off the bench now, the Ivory Coast international, scoring on his first goal for the club, and it was a great goal as well. Bad defending from Luton, you've got to be said, though. Mopwanzu's trying to get the ball away after a bit of a scramble in the box from Brighton, and he's popped out to Adingo, and he's just taken a slash at it, and it's just flown into the bottom left-hand corner. What a goal for Brighton. And for Luton, I'm afraid, they're their own worst enemies today. It's Brighton 3, Luton 1, 88 minutes gone.
So still 3-1 to Brighton, who are looking to carry on their good form from the end of last season, which saw them claim their first ever European position as they embark on their debut European campaign. Let's catch up with the game between Bournemouth and West Ham United. Bournemouth got themselves back level thanks to that Dominic Solanke goal. Either team pushing for a late winner in this one?
Yeah, well, it looked like Bournemouth had all the momentum, but West Ham have gone so close to retaking the lead. It's Lucas, who may be on his way to Manchester City later this summer. It was a thunderous effort from the edge of the box. It crashed against the post, with Bournemouth keeper Neto beaten all ends up. We're just approaching the 90-minute mark, and it is still Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1.
So still one apiece there. Let's head back to the game at Goodison Park. Chances coming thick and fast for the home side, but can they find an equaliser? Kane Wears.
Big chance again for Everton, and it's Bert Leno who's making a save to keep Fulham in this. Ashley Young's in-swinging cross is missed by Dan Juma, and Iwobi's there to attack it at the far post. He prods an effort goalwards, but Leno gets down to tip it wide. If Fulham see this game out, their goalkeeper really deserves plenty of credit. Then we've seen Stuart Atwell give a yellow card to Kenny Tete for time wasting. Probably more time to be added on from this. Alexander Mitrovic as well, just about a minute ago, has brought the ball down on his chest, just in the box, and had a low shot, which has been saved well by Jordan Pickford. So Fulham are still a threat, but Everton are hanging on. Still Everton 0, Fulham.
Still 1-0 to the visitors there. There's been a big chance in the game at Bramall Lane between Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. It's been all Crystal Palace and dismal from the home side. And that's continued, hasn't it?
It really has, yes. I have to say, in terms of player performances, one of the best players on the pitch has actually been a Sheffield United player, but it has been the goalie, Wes Foderingham. Brilliant save here. It was Eze dribbling down the left, got brought down quite savagely, to be honest, by Ben Slimani. Eze whips the ball into the back post. There's Joachim Andersen. He heads it down, does everything right. But Foderingham gets down so quickly and palms it off round the post. Really excellent save, but that should have been 2-0. I dread to think what the XG or whatever would have been on that particular header there. But it's all Palace still. Sheffield United not really offering anything. About 5 minutes to go here. 1-0 to Palace.
So still 1-0 to Crystal Palace. There's going to be 6 minutes of injury time in the game at the Vitality between Bournemouth and West Ham United. It's going to be 7 minutes of injury time at the game at the Amex Stadium between Brighton Hove Albion and Luton Town. Brighton were 3-1 up last time we heard from Richard Bond, and they had a chance to increase that lead.
Yes, well, Luton really got to watch themselves here that they don't concede too many more, because Brighton are really in the ascendancy. And that man, Adringra, he looks something special. He's gone down the right-hand side, took on two players, laid the ball off to Pascal Gross. He's whipped the ball in, found Evan Ferguson, clashes his header against the crossbar, and with the keeper stranded. So Luton really perhaps may need to just kind of think about holding on here, looking at the goal difference, because at the end of the season, it's going to come down to that potentially too. Brighton doing well today, though. 3-1 up, and like you say, 7 minutes stop time, so about 5 minutes left to go here.
Thank you very much, Richard. So Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1, Brighton 3, Luton 1, Everton 0, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. You're listening to Football Live.
Coming up tomorrow on Football Live with Barry Swain. Join us live and exclusive from 2:30 until 6:30, including Chelsea, Liverpool, Premier League action. Football Live will be around the grounds chasing the goals.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Some of the best start from the streets of Africa. This is not just a game. It's a feeling within us. It's expressive. It's a passion. Play for the fun. Play for the thrill. Play responsibly. Proudly African. Bet with the best. Naira Bet.
Take Brila anywhere, everywhere.
Yes, you can take Brila with you anywhere, everywhere.
The Brila app is available for free download on Google Play. It is also there on the Apple iTunes Store. Yes, on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Look out for the Brila football and microphone logo with the letters BRILA in green colour.
That is our authentic app. It gives you Brila FM, Brila.net, BrilaSports.tv, and all the extra betting tips, live score, plus our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google Plus, and YouTube posts.
Sports fun. You can post your videos and eyewitness reports.
Brila, BRILA. Available for download on Google Play and the Apple iTunes Store.
Around the grounds, chasing the goals.
A goal that is going to blow open the title race in the Bundesliga.
Well, this wasn't supposed to happen.
It's been an unbelievable day here on Football Live.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
Sports Radio 88.9 Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga.
4 hours of football every Saturday and Sunday on Brila FM with Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM 88.9 and 101.1 FM.
You are listening to Football Live, powered by NairaBet, with Dean Kilford.
And there's been another goal down at the Amex.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Where youngster Ferguson has got the 4th goal to really add some gloss onto the scoreline for the home side. It's currently Brighton Hove Albion 4, Luton Town 1. That goal will actually send Brighton Hove Albion to the top of the very early stages of the Premier League. So 4-1 to Brighton. Well, John Richard for all of the description of that goal momentarily. Meanwhile, let's bring us bang up to date with the action going on around the grounds. We'll start with the game between Everton and Fulham, where Everton are really pushing hard to try and find a late equaliser.
Massive chance. It's so end-to-end this game, but actually there's a chance that comes in for Mitrovic, who appeals for a handball after seeing a shot blocked at close range inside the area. The Fulham players surround the referee and it goes to VAR. The referee decides that his hands are by his side and that it's too close of a range to be a penalty. Marco Silva and his staff are outraged by the decision, and both him and a number of other staff are yellow carded within all of the incident. There's 6 minutes added on here as well, and as I say, it's so end-to-end. Everton again have had another chance to equalise when Onana's fed in Danjuma, and he's clean through on goal 1v1 and somehow places it wide. Everton, if they don't get anything out of the game today, will be so gutted about the missed chances that they've had, and it's still, with around 2 or 3 minutes to go, it's still Everton 0, Fulham 1.
Well, still a couple of minutes left for Everton to maybe find an equaliser that they surely deserve on the balance of play. Let's head down to the Amex Stadium and hear about that 4th Brighton goal from Richard Bonds.
Yeah, it's his game set a match for Brighton now, and it's Brighton 4, Luton 1. Evan Ferguson, the scorer, and it came from Luton really going forward, trying to get back into the match, trying to get a goal themselves. The counter-attack resulted in Stupinen picking the ball up from Lewis Dunk on the left-hand side. He dribbled forward with pace. A lot of Luton defenders had gone forwards, only a few back. And Stupinen played through Ferguson. He approached onto the keeper, onto the lovely through ball, slotted past the keeper easily into the bottom left-hand corner, punched the air. Brilliant win for Brighton. Looks like they're going top of the league tonight. Brighton 4, Luton 1.
The full time's happening in all of the games, coming in thick and fast. Let's head down to the Vitality Stadium and finished all square between Bournemouth and West Ham United.
Yep, Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1. A tale of two halves from the home side, who just about deserved the point with Dominic Solanke's goal, cancelling out Jarrod Bowen's spectacular opener. David Moyes' men, they were dominant in the first half, but were unable to convert their chances. They got their deserved goal on 51 minutes for a delightful curling strike by Jarrod Bowen. Bowen beating Neto. All ends up after Lucas Paquetá dispossessed Joe Rothwell in a dangerous area. Rothwell nearly levelled the scores, but his effort came crashing off the crossbar, while David Brooks tested Areola with a well-struck volley. But Areola could do nothing about Solanke's goal, the striker reacting quickest to Antoine Semenyo's hopeful effort before rounding the Hammers keeper and slotting it home. Moyes' side, they nearly earned all 3 points at the death, but a stunning effort by Lucas Paquetá rebounded off the post. And it's on as even. Bournemouth 1, West Ham 1.
And quickly then to Bramall Lane, where Sheffield United took on Crystal Palace. The home fans started the game unhappy, and they finished it unhappy as well, Ed.
Yes, they did. A rude return, if you like, for Sheffield United back in the Premier League. Their squad was just in no real shape of competing in this one, and the fans were right to call out the state of that lineup, because ultimately they offered absolutely nothing. I can't even really recall a significant chance had by the home side, so their fans must be going home pretty disappointed. As for Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson gets his team playing to a certain way, a certain consistent level, and they definitely found that today. I thought Odsonne Edouard finished the goal really, really well. Eberechi is a fantastic zone. Jordan Ayew had a really, really strong game in the Palace shirt. Palace on the day were just simply better and deserved their 1-goal win here today. But it finished here at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1.
So close, but yet so far for Everton as they took on Fulham. It's finished now, but oh, how close was that game?
Yeah, it's full time here, and it's Everton 0, Fulham 1. But 96 minutes in, and Everton think that they've equalised. Dan Juma breaks in behind the Fulham back line and gets 1v1 with Leno. Bends the ball in and scores, but the goal goes to VAR and it's struck off for offside. So it's full time, Everton 0, Fulham 1.
Well, full time in all the Premier League games. Let's get a very quick catch up from the game we're featuring in the Eredivisie between PSV Eindhoven and Utrecht. Jacob Collick.
Yeah, it's been a bit quieter, though. There was some fantastic goalkeeping by the Utrecht goalkeeper, Barkas, who managed to somehow parry a shot from Noah Lang. It came out and fell to Saibari. And at that moment, Barkas ran back towards his own goal and managed to just push it around the side of the net and keep the game at 1-0 to PSV. So heading into the 65th minute, it is PSV 1, Utrecht 0.
So 1-0 there in the Premier League. The games have finished, and what an afternoon we've had here on Football Live. The goals coming in as they happen all across the best leagues across the world. Let's bring you up to date with all of the full times. We'll start with last night's fixture. It finished Manchester City 3, Burnley 0. Arsenal won in the lunchtime game. It was Arsenal 2, Nottingham Forest 1. Bournemouth 1, West Ham United 1 down at the Vitality Stadium. Brighton Hove Albion have climbed to the top of the early Premier League table with a 4-1 victory at home to Premier League newcomers Luton Town. A frustrating day for the Toffees. It finished Everton 0, Fulham 1. A late VAR decision costing Everton a point there at Goodison Park. And finally, Sheffield United, well, their fans weren't happy with the team selection. They weren't happy at the final whistle. Crystal Palace beat the Blades by 1-0. They had the ball at the back of the net 3 times. It finished at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United 0, Crystal Palace 1. I've been Dean Kilford. You've been listening to Football Live. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Today's show was produced by John Kane and powered by Hollandia Civita and our official betting partner, NairaBet.